Dude, that circle of sheep in China. Did you see that, Eddie? The circle of sheep.
I saw a circle of turkeys. I saw a circle of all kinds of animals, but sheep is kind of weird. Sheep is like there's some.
I seen a rubber band. I seen a mattress stand. I seen a needle don't wink its eye. But I think I'd never done seen that.
I was waiting for Baphomet to come down.
You know, you guys is a sheep and wolf's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Are you guys?
Are you guys? That's like the
EWEGUISE.
That's kind of
you
brutal.
Guys.
David with the presentation. Kalen disappeared. We had Kalen here a second ago. Kalen, if you're watching this, get back in the room. I sent you the link again. I don't know. What happened? He disappeared. Well, hopefully he'll be back. He had some stuff to share with us, so we'll look at that. But in the meantime, that was that was way louder than I meant it to be. Now I'm listening to the sheep. You can't hear it, which is fine, but here's what it looks like. Thanks, Adam, for posting this from Nacho Business. Thanks, Nacho Business, for the original post. Can you see this in big screen? Is that working? Is that you can see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You don't hear it though, right?
No.
Good, because what do you want to hear sheep for anyway? But they're going in a circle, and So what do you think's going on here?
I think. Well, I mean, you haven't seen the other video with the turkeys, like somewhere in the Midwest. Like these turkeys were going in a circle around a dead black cat in the dead center. So some people thought that it's like a funeral for the cat.
Okay, wait. Turkeys, circle, dead cat. Let's do it. Let's find this out. Why did National Geographic? So Disney even weighed in on this. Okay, wait. Internal error. They don't want you to see this.
I think
Let's find.
On YouTube.
This is super sensitive.
This is it right here. Super sensitive data right here. That's what's going on. These are the turkeys circling the black cat.
Yeah, you see that?
Oh, that's horrifying. It's like a Friskies commercial around Halloween. What are they doing?
I mean, just Salem, straight Salem.
Are they gonna do something with the cat afterwards? Because you know what cats do to birds and things. They take their guts, man. I've seen horrible. Cats can be mean, man.
But this one's obviously special. This one's got extra power, some power.
Is it the ritual aspect, like animals kind of exuding like organized, like I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. It seems like swarming herds. That seems very magical. Anytime you can get humans to square dance, we're like amazed.
Yeah, there's something uncanny about that, isn't there? That's weird.
Well, and there's another famous one, which is the ants circling the iPhone. You saw that one, right?
Yeah, what's that about? Electromagnetic attraction or something?
That's more reasonable. I can get with that.
It's 5G. That's all it is, 5G.
The death one's weird. All right, here's the official story. Mystery of sheep walking in circles for 12 days. I forgot to mention.
12. Oh, that's
that makes them really exceptional then, because I'm sure those turkeys only walk for like half an afternoon. And
Stefan did it. What's up, Stefan? How you doing? What do you think about circles of sheep walking around in circles? Do you have ideas? Do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was tuning in as I was getting LinkedIn here. The only other animal or species that I've seen do this are reindeer, and they do it. I think it's a regular thing, not as it's like part of their typical behavior. And when you're really, really cold, marching in one direction is one way to stay warm, but gathering together to stay warm works as well. But maybe it works even better if there's constant motion.
You have a certain amount of glitch to you, boy. I don't know what that's all about.
I saw the reindeer videos. It seems like they're inside this. They're inside the fence. See.
Okay. So here's the deal. Yeah, I think Eddie got the point from this. So this is what they're saying. This is all they do all their lives. You know, if you're raised spiraling in a hypno circle all your life, that's all you know to do. So these circles of sheep, they're just doing what they know. They're so used to walking in circles.
Right, dude. If there's a fence around them, it wouldn't look as strange. You know, you'd be like, oh, well, they're just going towards the perimeter and just being, you know.
But this is all this has become a natural muscle memory, or it's hysteria because some of them know it, so they all do it.
But look at this. There's one thing in common. Do you know what it is? They're all clockwise.
Yeah, they all walk together, clockwise.
Right? That those turkeys were going clockwise. These
is that the way you do the Kaaba stone? Kaaba stone. How do you walk around?
It's the same.
Seven
It's also
times on the
clockwise.
Hajj. I believe it's clockwise, but I don't want to say it because I don't know for sure.
Dang, I think I'm confused because these pictures are spinning.
Saturn.
Yeah, you gotta look. Get some video.
The black key.
Anti-clockwise around the Kaaba.
It is okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
So these are in other words, I mean, these animals are probably bad. You know what I'm saying? They're doing anti-God behavior here, walking the wrong direction.
Anti-God to go against the clock. I don't know, man.
I don't know. Or
there is it's a Tibetan rites ritual. So there's something called the 5 rites, RITES, and at the beginning you spin in one direction while trying to channel positive energy kind of into either something you're holding in your mind or
there's a Sufi thing, and Rumi did that. That's the story with Rumi, right? See why he went around the pole or whatever, just in circles, and he would supposedly everything that we have that are supposed to be his writings, didn't actually write. He said them as he was spinning, and people recorded it. I believe it's the story.
As is the story with some of the yogis that came to America when in their kind of retirement years, they were just surrounded by students who were writing down everything they said. And it wasn't their job necessarily to compile their life's work. In the academic tradition, I believe it's called an amanuensis, EMM, like a manual helper. And we used to honor our academics that way. Perhaps, I'm not sure that still occurs.
When you guys talk on the phone, do you like walk in a circle sometimes, like pace around in the room in a circle? I do that all the time.
As it relates to a phone call, like I would do that at the beginning of a lot of my yoga classes. And one time, one of my friends said during that specific exercise, he hadn't seen that before, where you spin and you try to kind of welcome something in. He was thinking about a specific friend he hadn't heard of from in a while. And when he got out of class, he had a missed call from that friend. And that was like one of the only tangible anecdotes, or, going, maybe magic is real. You never know. So
I love this study of walking and talking. Like, imagine that was like, they're like, okay, so what's our motivation?
So that article that said the mystery may be solved, is that what it said in the article, that they were used to being enclosed, and so it looks strange when they're not as enclosed, but they're doing it anyway, or what?
Yeah, I think that's what it said. Let me see here. Scientists say possible explanation. It looks like the sheep are in pens for long periods, and this might lead to stereotypic behavior. Yep.
Yeah. It's just what you said. Just making sure.
Well, here's another observation: is kids who are autistic or a spectrum disorder, they tend to love to spin, at a very young age, and they'll do the clockwise spin. And just like change, they're gonna put the eye, they're gonna look in the corner of the eye and just start following the eye, like going, like nonstop, and it's always that direction. So I don't know.
Well, there were the kids that loved the roller coasters that would spin you around and stick you to the wall. I experienced those 1 or 2 times, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm good on. But it's an intoxicant almost if you spin yourself, and it's something that, as a child, it's a sensation perhaps you're in control of, and if the rest of the world feels out of control, I'm just trying to come up with some explanation as to why.
Well,
as a sensory thing.
It is the devil and witches, and that's what spins. You saw this, right? Cat with the church. I mean, come on.
And they're all over Boston right now. Yeah.
I don't want
not in numbers like that though.
I don't want to get you in trouble, but the documentary I was just talking about off the camera.
Oh, you mean Died Suddenly?
Yeah. Okay. Well,
cool.
Okay, now you
died suddenly.info. Is this the one you're talking about? The one with if you click on the follow, and the one that has at the bottom of the page a link that says if you or a loved one are writing to receive. If you guys want to fill this John Doe form out, here you go. Yeah. If you know somebody who knows somebody, Kevin Bacon it right there. And there's a little trailer right here. But let's see.
How much died suddenly?
How much would you pay? How much would you pay for the opportunity to send this video to everyone you know, including your own mother? How much would you pay? Well, now you don't have to, because if you go to Twitter, right on Twitter, the whole movie, the whole documentary is right there playing for Frizzle, Mashizzle, Manizzle. Yeah, that's right. That's pretty sweet. I did see the Twin Towers flash.
I made a joke that they were only going to reopen the movie theaters when they were reclassified as indoctrination centers or re-education centers. And imagine if instead of the mainstream media buying out the the movie theater to play stuff. Some like just underground, like it was playing Zeitgeist at 8 p.m. every day, and just you got every subversive film you could think was for free at the. Yeah.
Sorry, I got a little excited and overzealous there. So, what was your point?
So what I'm trying to say is that in the documentary, they show several clips of those people who suddenly just collapse and will fell onto the train track and run over. They all have the same thing, spinning clockwise. Like
I
they
didn't see that.
like this, they do like this, and all of a sudden just die, just complete collapse.
Man.
But anyway, so they showed at least like 20 clips of those in that documentary.
I've seen
mice
videos of mice that are doing what looks almost like, when I say the 5 rites, it looks like they're doing some ritual where they're following a light and then they fall over backwards, and they keep doing it. And it's a form of seizure. And I don't, it can be from an extreme imbalance of electrolytes in the system. It can be from extreme dehydration over time. It could be that 2 or 3 organ systems gave out at once instead of just one, or I don't know. But yeah, I've seen those videos.
Maybe have something to do with the circular, the I don't know, the vascular, how the heart is pumping. I don't know.
Crowley's got a good interpretation of Humpty Dumpty in book 4.
I knew you were going there. Thank God.
I
just had to hover on Humpty Dumpty for long enough.
Did I mention this last week? Because they were throwing eggs at King Charles.
That's true. You did. All right, Eddie, you win. That was like the prequel.
Dumpty moment.
That was the prequel. That was good. All right. Wait, okay. Humpty Dumpty.
I have a good 4-level sync with the Humpty Tumpla that I went over once with you, but David was trying to take the floor with this one.
Yeah, Crowley it up. Hold on.
Oh no, I could get the book, but I mean I don't remember. It's a Kabbalistic metaphor. He goes through all these classic nursery rhymes and explains how the Kabbalistic metaphor is. But you go right ahead, sir.
So one last thought on the 5 rites. It's something that I know if I tried doing them right now, my body is weak. I haven't been in my yoga practice or doing other exercise, and it involves leg lifts. You lay on your back, which sounds again like the worst kind of exercise. You do them really slow. But my recollection, telling this to myself and to anyone else who might be inspired to try the 5 rites, it's something you don't even really need a yoga teacher for. You can look them up. But by the 30th day you're doing it, it's hard to comprehend how difficult it was and then how easy it became. And it's not that you're lifting 500 pounds or anything, but it's like, actual control over a non-sedentary lifestyle and strengthening certain muscles. But anyway, so maybe I'll come on and lead Andreas through the 5 rites. See, I do leave it to someone like me in my yoga class. I have them spin the opposite direction too, of course, out of due diligence, just to make sure that in case we're worshiping everything upside down. But during that direction, I tell them to think of something they want to let go of, and that they're ready to kind of move away.
Eddie, I found Winnie the Pooh doing
spinning one direction, attracting something to you, spinning. And there probably are Tibetan monks who roll over on their grave, because every time I do that, but that's a separate issue. So with the Humpty Tumpla, this was bringing up the Bose-Einstein condensate to go deep into the Zertosphere with it. They created this time crystal that is reversible. The idea that time only goes forward could be that paradigm being challenged. Whereas what Humpty Dumpty represents in reality is this idea that there are certain things that once they happen, all the king's horsemen and all the king's men can't put the egg back together necessarily, and that leave it to MIT scientists or whoever it was that did it here in Boston to go along and find but if you do it like this, you can kind of say that and then I really went there with the Humpty Tumpla.
Just for that, I'm pulling up only Stanford articles for the rest of the show. West Coast. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, they're great too. Stanford, they're known for their experiments and sorry, hand gesture. I got to come up with a better one. Maybe it's the pinky.
What's this rock here? Whoa.
Let me introduce you to my old friend. I've been with him for 40 years.
That's not a rock. That's a dragon egg.
No, it's let me go show some light here. So this is from Taiwan. This is a Taiwanese rock. It's a quartz. It's naturally polished in the riverbed.
Oh.
Okay? That's from Indiana Jones. It's the thing.
I was just thinking it. You got me. Yeah.
It's a crystal skull.
The
heartstones from Legend Temple of Doom.
They're lingams. It looks like a lingam.
But the idea that the crystal, the time crystal, is named a Bose-Einstein condensate, or it was made in that. And we have Boston Acoustics and Cambridge Soundworks. And there's a lot of signs and symbols here that whatever acoustic technology, Boston's been monkeying around with that for a minute.
How do I?
I'm still on camera. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm trying to feature some scars that it has here. But this thing, this is basically why I think that I am a crystal child, because I discovered, I'm the only one who discovered the crystal in this in Hualien in Taiwan, where it has a famous Tailug, a riverbank, tons of like egg-shaped, the egg-shaped rocks. I forgot what they call it, in an oval shape. And this is the only crystal that anybody has ever found. There were like hundreds of people that day. So everybody dropped their rock when they saw this. Like, oh, the kid found a crystal.
It's translucent, but it seems to be reflective, because you have the light facing you and you're holding it up to the camera, and yet it seems to be glowing almost. So that would make sense if the light was behind it, that you're seeing the light through it. But it actually seems like there's a reflective and translucent nature to that stone. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the size of a heart too. So if I lose this, I die. Okay, so anybody can find a way to kill me.
When I was little on the playground in preschool and in kindergarten, there were these little stones. Now they have the rubber flooring where it's like a playground surface, but they had little rocks crushed up. And I would sit there. I wouldn't get on the swings. And I would collect whatever that quartz. It's a very similar thing to what Eddie had there, because it was mixed in with whatever granite and whatever else was made of this fine gravel. And the teachers would always come over. What are you doing? And I thought they were diamonds. And so every day I would go home with a pocket full of the clear stones from the playground. Wasn't
Don't spend it all in one place.
I mean, that's what they say.
Dumpty yoga. And then, okay, hold on. Synchronous page.
Oh, wait.
Are
you looking for something particular?
Yeah, I was just looking through your Synchronous thing. There was something that you posted earlier.
So you actually found that rock. You actually, that wasn't something you purchased.
Yeah. I just
There's
walking.
Something special about that. Yeah.
I wasn't even like I was wandering. I didn't even have anything in my hand. That was the only thing I picked up. Oh, this is crazy. This you got to read this, because the Taiwanese army colonel he actually revealed a plan of surrendering his troops to China in case they do invade. That was like plotted out, and basically he was arrested for treason. But that's what I think they're gonna do anyway. You have a million strong PLA come across the strait. You have nowhere to run in. But it was a big deal.
Well, by surrendering them, you're forcing the other side to either execute them or somehow house them, right?
Well,
and in the U.S. Civil War, when there was like a whole bunch of meetings that took place leading up to the surrender in the American Civil War, and part of the agreement is they reached it, and then they had to go back and add one line, and like the line they added was that the Confederate soldiers who were surrendering were allowed to keep their personal property. And because there was no such thing as a Confederate army horse, everyone was actually there on their own horse, their family. They brought their own gear, their own weapons, their own everything. And so it meant that on the way in and out, no one was allowed to confiscate anything from the Confederate soldiers. So on one hand, it was drawn up as to what looked like a surrender and a stipulation that was added almost as an acquiescence. But in reality, they worded it in such a way where it was like an Onion article when it came out.
But you know that what I'm trying to allude to with what's going on in Taiwan is the same thing with Civil War in Gettysburg. A lot of them got away with getting executed on the battlefield by saying, who's going to help the widow's son, right? They basically make their secret handshake and let each other go. We're talking about, because the one that I just showed you, they're most likely they belong to the Kuomintang, which is the nationalist army, which they are basically a lot of them are Masons, the Chinese Masons, and so when the island was run by the Chiang Kai-shek dictatorship, Chiang Kai-shek himself is most likely a fraternal member. So he basically they've been secretly making.
I have no idea how I'm supposed to spell his name. Chiang Kai-shek.
Chiang Kai.
Chang CHI. There you go. Yeah, Shanghai.
That was amazing. Google's like, you know what? I'll just do this for
you. So his predecessor is the founder of Republic of China, which is Sun Yat-sen. Sun Yat-sen was actually he was brought up. He was groomed by a Freemason named James Cantley, a British member of the Macau Lodge, and he actually saved him from kidnapping because the Manchurians were trying to kidnap him in London. because they figure out he's trying to overthrow the Manchurian government. So this guy, Chiang Kai-shek, that's his son. Yeah. So these are a lot of these people in the nationalist government. They are, groomed by the Western.
Bro, that's the most groomed-looking Taiwanese guy I've ever seen.
Well,
Look
if
at
you're
that.
pretty
He's
sure someone's about to
well-groomed.
capture you and indoctrinate you with Freemasonry, or they're asking you to come willingly and then you get to leave afterwards. On the other hand, you get to see the enemy's battle plan if you think they're the enemy.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. The government that's running Taiwan right now is called a Democratic Progressive Party. These people are diehard independents. They self-proclaimed Taiwanese. They don't want to be part of China at all. So these people are the ones that they try to get rid of. But
did he look Aryan to you guys? The guy look Aryan to you? Not
Okay.
that guy.
Probably a little
Not
bit,
that guy.
so-
No, that guy.
This one or this
There.
one?
Yeah,
This guy?
no. Go back.
What-
to the
what-
last
this
guy.
guy.
This guy. Does
Well,
he
he's
look
wearing-
I'm surprised that was such a question. I mean,
He's
come on.
wearing German clothes.
Right,
Well,
but because that was the thing,
Weren't they like
End of
weren't
the
they
war.
brethren or something like that? That was the whole thing. And then
Well,
also there's an anime about this. What's that one? The anime the flight pilot
Yeah, that was a little so
aviator, the aviator. So there's
you're
like
talking
a
about the same guy who did Valley of the Wind and all that.
right.
stuff.
It's not that
Yeah,
one.
so
That's cuter looking.
Oh, because he has like a plane almost fetish. He's like obsessed with the warplane thing. That's from his childhood. It's like, what's his name? Come on, guys, Spirited Away. Who's that?
Miyazaki.
Howl's Moving Castle. Yeah, yeah. Like he's got a plane cartoon, doesn't he, about Japanese planes?
Yeah, I'm trying so hard. What's it called? Somebody, Studio Ghibli. I know I should be checking in the comments. Somebody in the comments say Miyazaki's film about the wind rises. Is this it? That's it, right?
Yeah.
So the Wind Rises, which is like about Jiro Horikoshi, who was a Japanese fighter designer for World War II, who just included the Mitsubishi A6M0 fighter jet design, who did go get educated in Germany during, the crazy times to be alive of World War II, right? And for the Empire. Yeah, that exists. There's a movie about that.
But if you go to Sun Yat-sen, go to Sun Yat-sen, and you can see that he's a missed kid. He doesn't know who his dad is. So it's very mysterious. And like a lot of these,
he changed his name. Is that the deal?
Sun S-U-N Yat Y-A-T. Sun Sun start with not Chang, no Chang. Sun Yat, and then
there you go.
Oh, there he is.
Whoa.
So if you look at him,
dude, that's the most airbrushed photo I've ever seen. Look at this. It's crazy.
Yeah, so this is the founding father. This is the George Washington of China.
What's he even airbrushing?
That's practically painting, dude. That's like, yeah.
What's he feel so weird about? I just want to see who he really is now, just for context.
It looks anti-generated, doesn't he?
I'm saying a lot of founders of republics around the globe. Like, if you look at the founder of what's his name in Mexico, the founder, what's his name? Juarez, Caesar, no, not Caesar Chavez, Juarez. If you look at him, he's half European too. He looks very like native Mexican, native Indian, but he is half European actually.
Which Juarez?
Juarez.
Benito Juarez.
Benito Juarez. So he's also what do you call it? The not Mextec. What did they say? Not mulatto, but the
Mestizo, mulatto, Morello.
Yeah.
Do you know who's really based though? Is Jose Gaspar Rodriguez de Francia, who was totally part black and demanded that everybody be integrated in Paraguay. He said, "Hey, from now on, you cannot marry anybody of the same ethnicity as you."
Oh, on the flip, yeah.
Just on principle, everyone had to integrate. It was full on integration,
Yeah.
Before the war that killed 99% of the Paraguayans, called the Triple Alliance War. Sucked for that, but
well, Benito Juarez is also a Freemason. So just so you know, so
right,
Sun
yeah,
Yat-sen
they're all Freemasons.
Seriously, the republics is a conspiracy because they try to overthrow all the monarchs around the world, and then
O'Higgins. Have you guys seen O'Higgins? This is O'Higgins, who's like a dude in Chile who's really famous. So get this: Dutch, Arabs, Spanish, Irish. they're all convoluted at this point, but basically you've got people from one place saying they're the kings and queens, and then you got dudes from way far away who are running the boats for them. And at one point they're like, you know what, we could really just we're running the boats. We could just do what we want with these boats. So they mutiny, take over all of the islands and colonies that they had after Cortez, including Chile, and declare independence. And so that's one of the ways that happened. But they're all Freemasons, of course. And their symbol isn't just the apron or the Freemason sign. It is the Phrygian cap. Shield Phrygian cap somewhere. I don't know. It's like always this way.
Smurf hat.
You always find a Smurf hat on everything you go to that the Freemasons took over and declared independence from the royals from. It's a thing. It's a thing. You know.
And we talked about that's the new symbol for the French, the Paris Olympics, right? The new Moscow.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the Olympic symbol, like what year was that, where it spelled out Zion? If you just arrange the different parts, they're like these weird shapes. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
I believe it.
If you put an Olympic Zion, you'll probably get it. But yeah,
that seems like a. That seems like a. Don't get me Kanye here or something.
Yeah, see it right there, the second picture there with the.
This one.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, that's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah,
that's
clever.
At least that's like Canadian, like snow. Is this a Winter Olympics?
When they did this, I believe it was this year that they projected the sound of William Blake's poem where he talks about Jerusalem on England's green and pleasant land, where he's talking about the New Jerusalem being in England, and it ties to the idea that the royals actually believe they're of the 12 tribes, which is symbolized in the jewels of the crown and the throne and all of that.
They had a lot to make up for after like letting Hitler design their old logo, though. Yeah. I feel like, to be fair, they're like, what are we going to do? I mean, that really, can we rebrand? How hard can we rebrand?
That's the thing. That's why it's true. The history of the Olympics there, that like, come on, you know?
Yeah. I mean, this is peak irony. Tokyo, African-American skateboarder, Hitler's logo, all in one. This is peak postmodernism, really, which is fine, but it's weird that this symbol, these rings, somehow didn't become a hate crime symbol or something by now, the way that the world works. I don't know. So
which ring of those is the one to rule them all, though? That's my question.
That show.
What color is that? Is green the color?
And remember that lady from that show? She was crazy. Oh, that's a whole different lady. What did they do? That's terrible. Okay, so then we did the Nazis and the Japanese working together to make fighter pilots. Miyazaki. There was another thing. This one, my name is Newt. We talked about this a little bit.
Sure.
Oh yeah. So basically, this actress, it's Amazon, right? Amazon's going to come out with a new Alien series. Was it Hulu? No, it's Amazon, I believe so. So they're trying to revive, and the rumor has it she's basically resurrecting the character Newt. Well, they said that the little girl died. It's along the story, right? That she died in the cryogenic chamber. I forgot the story. But so they're trying to bring her back. So Newt is basically, the Egyptian goddess Nut.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the correct pronunciation of that really is. I mean, I like to say Newt because I like to relate it to the celebration of the lizard because of that thing you can do with an American prayer and the Book of the Law.
Oh, by pronouncing it as American lizard?
Yeah, it might be naked. So like seriously, because like the W can be an H because it's actually like a V or an H, which there's no H. It's always heck and kek.
Yeah, but when people spell it in the Egyptian sky goddess Nut or whatever, it's usually Nuit.
So the episode I just released with David Ewing Jr., we were talking about this interesting thing where let me see if I can find it. Encyclopedia. I'll just push the letter out. This letter, you know what I'm saying? So I gotta get a new keyboard.
Oh yeah, I've seen this guy.
So here's the deal. Apparently, B's and P's were all switched, and A's and E's were all integrated, and O's were confused. So Europe was Arab, and then Arab became Europe. So all of these words that we confuse the vowels for. It's one of the reasons why Hebrew's like, you know what, we should probably like wait till we really know the vowels. We should like, when we can afford them, then we'll get them.
Yeah, this is it's a grapevine. It really is, because it's like you know, you ever seen Johnny Dangerously when they're like the parrot comes up in the prison and it whispers in somebody's ear that they're going to kill his brother at the Savoy Theater tonight and pass it on, and then the next guy says the same thing, and then the next guy, and it goes down the line, and the last one he just says some total nonsense where he's like, gonna go, you know, some, I don't know what, you know, and then
they call it the game of telephone.
And then telephone, thank you. And then he's like, oh, you're gonna kill my brother at the Savoy Theater? And he goes, that's not what I said. He goes, I know, but I know this grapevine. You know, it's like that.
Which Alexander Graham Bell, who was famous for having created the technology itself to record sound, like the answering machine, and
for trying to sterilize poor kids.
Sure, but that his father was the head professor of elocution in England, I believe. And then when they came to the United States, started a school here in the Boston area, and he was kind of groomed to become the next kind of headmaster of elocution. And, you know, there were schools for the deaf and that sort of thing. The idea that there's a correct way to say something is a very provincial-minded way of thinking. But the game of telephone, which I played in preschool, it was kind of meant to reinforce this idea that careful who's telling you what and how they heard it, and almost think about the chain of custody of the information. Long before I would have understood how that would play out in real life. But certain types of pronunciation, so elocution, for those that aren't familiar with the word, it's just specifically about where in the mouth the sound comes from. And Alexander Graham Bell actually developed a set of what are essentially hieroglyphic braille. But so instead of running your finger over it, and there were a series of symbols that were supposed to represent the mouth and where the sound was coming from. And so there was like dots and dashes around the mouth or the tongue, and almost like it was a visual reference for how to a remembrance to how to form the palate when reading certain things. But when it comes to electronic communication and you have static or you have choppiness or bit rate issues or compression issues, there's doublespeak is a real issue sometimes when for accuracy in communication. English is known for being good at communicating about scientific things, but not necessarily romantic things or emotional things. And
it's too bad the internet went out for Kalen, because he was just talking about, he's in school right now, and so he's studying a bit about like, I think his final has to do with projection and presentation and perception. And so perception becomes such a crazy thing, because once you get to college, you're like, well, really everything's meta tagged. You just have these experiences and you can't even record all that data. You get a low color, low grade, your HD signal is like 1080i. That's what you're getting of the few signals you're getting to record. And from there, you're telling people about it. So people don't even get to watch your recording, and you don't even watch it. You basically just reminisce on the meta tags. You read the descriptions for the experiences you had. And those descriptions are based on, look at tag words and trending words. Like, they're not as creative as they should be. And when they are, they don't trend. So people are having a harder and harder time of communicating, which can be really disastrous. And then you think everything is postmodern and therefore everything is subjective, and that can lead you to Lacan, and that can be dangerous. So the thing or Foucault, I think, is really where you have to get off the bus sometimes. But
you say it Foucault, right? But in a more Cockney slang, it's Foucault. It's like, if you're saying Foucault to hell, like that's you. If you're trying to cut yourself off, and instead of saying fuck it all to hell, because they argue and debate about flat Earth, round Earth for forever. And the way you convince everyone is you put a pendulum in the local cathedral, and they won't go there to listen to the Bible, which says something about four corners at last I checked. But to me,
but you must believe in what Foucault tells you.
Yeah,
I
proved it.
Here's the beauty.
I'm sorry. I disagree with a major component of Foucault's pendulum, or however you want to say it.
Yeah. Go into that rant first. I already have. Go for it.
I don't know, man. Like, when he has that whole analysis where he's explaining how he's talking about the Kabbalistic tree of life, and he's applying it to like an engine. So somebody's like explaining Kabbalah, like let me, he in the story, he's like, let me simplify it for you. And he's like describing the different parts of an engine and how they could be relatable to the different components of the Kabbalistic tree. But one is something we build. This is my regular rant. One is something we build, and one is the actual organism. It's the intelligence of the living thing, And so I don't resonate with his simplification of that. I don't think it's appropriate.
Well, from a scientific, an empirical standpoint, the idea that you have a pendulum that's rotating and it changes, its plane of movement, you could explain that through electromagnetic forces as well, which was something that was not very well understood by the common person. They understood a lot more about farming technology and homesteading and how to survive the winter, and they didn't know. And so, especially understanding that cathedrals are largely electrically isolated structures because of the types of materials used at different layers, it would be rather easy to introduce a simple magnetic field that would cause the same precession of the pendulum. So knowing that, it's a very unimpressive demonstration, and it'd be very difficult to anyways, sorry.
So it's kind of like a better version of the Celestine prophecy, the book.
So the point.
Oh, I gotta talk about that book
before you get into Celestine. We'll go there right this second. But what I want to say is that the reason it's interesting to me is it means it's not subjective, even though there are only like limited groups. There's people that are trained to respond to the same stimuli the same way. So there are people that are tetrachromatic. There are people that see things in more colors or less colors. There's people that see things different ways. But there are really castes. There are castes of people that see things ways. And most people fall into ranges of that. And so that's far less subjective than we think it is. That's far more objective.
Ultraviolet. Some people might see it and take it for granted that it's part of their visual field. And then when they put on glasses that actually cut the ultraviolet and see how dull the world looks to other people, they're called opsins in the eye. And that was kind of the New World monkeys versus Old World monkeys or primates. It was the number of opsin.
Kids that stare at a screen a meter away and don't go see a mile away, don't look at birds and things like that are flying in the sky. I think we're preparing ourselves to have a problem with our eyesight, and what that means beyond our eyesight to how we perceive things at depth.
Someone asked in the comments if I believe in flat Earth. I believe in the end of The Shining.
Nice. Yeah. So wait, Celestine prophecy.
I never finished. I was so scared of that book for so long. Somebody gave me a copy when in high school, and how everybody's like, you open that book, your life is going to change.
It is a gateway drug. It's like the thing that gets you going before marijuana. You know what I mean? Like when one thing leads to another. Marijuana will lead to heroin. It's like this is like, well, what is this? Is this cough syrup? Like I don't know. I'm just saying like it is a gateway book because you're like it's very like just open. To like what I don't know. It's yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, after hearing about what Jay Weidner had to say about the cross of Henday and all that stuff, don't you think it's like the same material?
I think that 15-year-olds or 14-year-olds reading that book, like at that time for whatever, dude, it's like it's totally it's set people on a certain path, not its path, but on some it's just open-minded, but yeah.
We'll talk about this book. What is the Celestine prophecy?
I'm saying what I'm saying because I read it when I was a teenager. I read
the
it
sequel to Harry Potter or the prequel to Lewis Acker's Holmes.
It's about a manuscript.
It's about like evolution and the Messiah, like everyone becomes Christ basically at the end or something along those lines.
That's good.
Yeah, it was like I think who's the guy who did Breaking Open the Head? He's kind of ridiculous.
If you get me in trouble with a clip, be careful. Make sure you only play.
Oh no, these are all freeze frames. Yeah, this is just images. Good call though. I appreciate the heads up. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And can I load in a few of these screenshots? I don't mean to interrupt the
Yes, you may.
So
run home, Jack.
What number do you see, gentlemen?
I mean, I see a lot of numbers. The 11 sticks out, but I see the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
But all things predict what?
9/11.
Okay, so where's the 9?
Okay, yeah.
The red piping around his isn't that clever? And this is a scene where he's breaking all the
yeah. No, I love it. Yeah,
and
good
it's
for
a
you.
Boston uniform, and it's like the whole message. Remember,
Dude,
I'm gonna steal your. Oh, go ahead.
I'm convinced this movie's like just loaded with Kabbalistic stuff all over the place. The whole movie, Hook, Saudi.
Yeah.
So it's
So
just, the movie deals with the Saudi star issue in major ways. I would say that everything Steven Spielberg has ever done, with the exception perhaps of Amistad, has been loaded with Kabbalah.
Calm down. Amistad does too. We'll have to go into that later.
Okay, just showed me where it is. I paid close attention. I couldn't find it,
Whole
but
thing
like,
based on a set. Basically, it's a set movie. It's all there. Yeah, it's in the architecture.
The idea that Hook was one of the last non-CGI big budget Hollywood films where they would build everything like the pirate ships at 75% scale and do these walkthroughs and get these single shots where there was 200 extras that were all in costume, in character, for them to interact with as they walked through these areas. And
I heard that was the first time. What's his name? The guy who played Rufio made love. Right? He got laid on the set.
Maybe I did hear that.
And then Dustin Hoffman knew it. He knew the whole time. He's like, he could tell. Like, you got laid, didn't you? He's like, yeah.
Somebody in the comments says, in the movie they all become gods at the end. Or is there a Celestine prophecy movie? I didn't know that. Sounds like Childhood's End. Celestine, Philistine, as well, symbolism. It is kind of like Childhood's End in a way. Childhood's End is a really important book, fun book to read. It's just like a day read. It's, Arthur C. Clarke's. It's actually the explanation for the cover of Houses of the Holy. So, like all the kids like climbing up the naked kids climbing up the thing. I actually got a strike from Facebook back in the day for just sharing the cover of Houses of the Holy. A bunch of nude kids. We don't like that. It's like, wow, okay.
I got another 30 days on Facebook today. I got another 30 days. So I have about 22 more hours on Facebook until like I was back, because I posted the picture of Johnny Bravo naked in the shower, but with the word dialectic covering his bottom. It was covering his bottom.
Was it a photograph? Andres, was it a photograph of Johnny
It was
Bravo,
a cartoon. I've seen worse things on Cartoon Network. It was him turned around, and you couldn't see him.
Someone was at Facebook wants to hear your voice. They miss you, Andreas. And the way that you call YouTube and get them to do what they just want you to get someone at Facebook so that other people can then use that contact. But
this time I hadn't posted anything, and I haven't done anything wrong. So what they do is they found a post from 2013 or 14 where I was like, look at this. There's a new Amazon show coming out called Man in High Castle, based on Philip K. Dick. Check out some of the artwork. And it has the Japanese flag over California and has the World War II German flag.
And do you remember when they did the
30
subway?
days? I have 30 more days for that. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So you got 30 days for something that, what was that? 4 years ago?
Yeah.
5 years ago?
More. Yeah.
When they all the subways, maybe not all of them, but excuse me, there was several trains in New York that got like American flags with Nazi swastika style, like combining all through the subway system. So like people were getting on the subway just in the morning, and there was nothing that was written saying Man in the High Castle. It was just an advertisement from Amazon for Man in the High Castle without them explaining it. So people are just like, that's weird. Like,
but
America,
go for the high score when it comes to these negative things. I don't think that's what Andreas is doing, and yet he keeps getting slapped with these measured punishments. I wonder if someone's keeping track somewhere. And
so here's a real fine line. These are the benches this is New York City.
Again, not kicked off altogether, right? I mean, that's pretty skill. It takes walking a fine line, my friend.
I stand reflected. There is a poster for the Man in the High Castle. I thought I saw it where there was no poster, but I guess
it's kind of confusing because imagine you're drunk and you're in New York, or you got to get up and go to work. It's New York City, and you sit down, right? And you're like, "Whoa, what the hell is going on in here?" And you sit down and you don't. And the poster is like every 10 feet or something, so you could look around and figure it out. But you're like, what is this? But yeah, it was really intense. Anyway, for these kinds of things, I got in trouble.
So Dave, I don't mean to step on your toes with the whole sync thing, but as you said, there is probably a lot built into Steven Spielberg's productions. The movie that freeze frame was from, again, we all kind of took it for granted, but for others in the audience, it was the movie Hook, which is a play on Peter Pan. And they honored the tradition of any production that made profit based on the story of Peter Pan. There's one orphanage in England that all the money goes to them. Yeah. And it's been this international effort. And so
Well, all the money from the sales of the book in Britain. See, like everybody else figured that one out.
That's what I'm saying. Though. I think Spielberg made sure to at least give a sizable donation from the profit of the movie. Yeah,
he's just Spielberg's a Kabbalist. Jaws is fully loaded too. Jaws is
as far as other syncs that I saw in that, the idea that Hook stole his children and then raised them. He says, I don't need to kill your children. They're going to love me like I'm your father instead. And that's kind of what a conquering force could do, and it could be seen as
Simon, the video's not removed. It's unlisted until YouTube finishes reviewing it again. I keep they're doing all this weird stuff to me, and so I'm just following. Like, they're advised me. I talked to YouTube directly. They advised me to unlist my videos when they turn yellow until they've been reviewed, and then to relist them. So today, the Ewing Jr. video about the Nazi cover-up of Tartaria, that video was reviewed and it's back up. Who knows what's going to happen, so I'm gonna start doing that. If you guys see a video is missing, all the videos are posted in the Discord. So all the videos that are unlisted, you can still find them. You just have to click on the link. The Ewing Jr. video gained like 500 views while it was unlisted. So you guys can find the science video as well.
You should just make the video disappear and just sell the black market DVD.
Someone's trying to strip YouTube's code.
Too hot for tube, explicit, Xirtus content.
Whose feed does it still get pushed into, and whose doesn't it? Right?
But it should be on like HD video cassettes from 2001 because they were higher resolution than Blu-ray. We had more color space. I don't know.
So there's a moon sync, like a Kubrick sync in Hook, and then we can move on to it. But
go ahead.
I made a good moon. I think I made a good post on. If you scroll back on my Twitter, there's a whole bunch of Shining sync going on this whole week because Jordan Peterson is back on Twitter, and now he put Jack on the, Jack is back.
I did see you posted.
And home run Jack is from.
You did post this, which was funny. Trent Reznor leaves Twitter for mental health, as Elon Musk calls him a crybaby. Trent Reznor and Jack White are among the growing number of celebrities who've left Twitter among Elon Musk's controversial takeover. I mean, something happens when you just play music all day and you get like kind of introverted, I guess, and it makes you kind of like sensitive. I think that's part of the deal.
I've never spent more than 5 minutes on Twitter. Dave, is that something you do? Were you on Twitter all the time? Do you check? Are there things
I use Twitter because I haven't been on Facebook for.
He talks to porn stars.
Over a year. Yeah, I share sync videos with porn stars.
It's just very strange for me on the outside in. I know Twitter's a big deal. It always kind of has been a big deal.
David's like a missionary. He's trying to save the world.
And then trying to understand how is that a preferable browsing experience to all the other platforms out there? How does Twitter suck you in? I just don't it's never spoken to me in a way as a user that it was. How is it interesting?
Well, in the interface, just like anything, you have links to outside stuff. So if you have people who write all kinds of articles and things, and they can just they're accessible. So
the irony is Tim Pool is trending on Twitter, but it's what you get. That's just part of that's the way that it works. It's part of it.
Yeah. But if anything, Twitter's like the permanent record. And why would you ever want anything you post on social media?
Well, I think you could argue that the moving finger writes and having writ moves on. And you can't lure it back to cancel half a line. You have to live with things that you put out into the world in the first place.
So you're saying the audience is on Twitter who's there to view your stuff. So if you're sharing them, you feel like you're sharing it with. I
don't even know, man. Like I just don't. I can kind of
it on other platforms that might not get.
I use it a lot in the same way I use Facebook, where it's like it gives me a place to keep track of a lot of things sometimes. So it's like as information's coming up, I can kind of like. I use stuff in my own way, and I don't know if it's the best way or whatever, but
when I was following sports and I was a real sports nut, that was the place where certain information would break first, and I wasn't a betting guy.
That's the truth. Is that independent investigative journalist? The information comes out on Twitter about 12 to 48 hours before it comes out in any news.
But now, 5 years ago, that sentence made sense, Andreas. Does it make any sense today?
It's still true because it's a bigger clump of people, and so people that are in the location that it's happening are posting the thing onto Twitter. It's not. There are better tools. I prefer to use Matrix. Why am I writing
about verified?
Andreas'
idea of truth is so slippery since truthiness. Colbert, preempted it. But
Andreas has made a good point that he's like, if Facebook is the town, then Twitter is the city. And you think people are accessible sometimes. Like I got my stuff to Sean Lennon the other day. Like it's like it's you know, if you're into celebridom, you know, that's one thing.
And if people have like designated a social media team, or even they themselves want to make sure that they follow up with the fans, right? They don't go to every platform and read their DMs.
But a lot of these guys, that's what they're using is Twitter directly, you know, and it's gotten to that point. And there's perks to being able to communicate to people publicly, because, you know, then if someone wants to talk, then they're going to say something briefly in public if you interact with them before it's a DM or something like that. So
it's a nice way to ride someone's coattails. Like if like as a yoga teacher, if I came up with an event,
anal dust is trending on Twitter. So I don't know. I can't really argue that this is the best service in the world or something, but it is the populace is using it. If you want to use the best service, use the Matrix. Go to tartarinova.com, click on Tartary Matrix server. We have the best.
Eddie, did you find that moon sync? You said there was a moon sync you were trying to pull up.
Oh, sorry.
Can I just add that, like, you know, if you're relating to Twitter, that this is what you're seeing is like what the populace at large, like you're looking at a particular demographic of people who are drawn to Twitter. So that's what you
see. Here's the fallacy, though. So an ad popped up on YouTube because I wasn't signed in, and it starts with, "In America, this has gone viral." And it then showed 90 seconds of footage of all these things that I had never freaking heard of. But to someone in a foreign market, ooh, I want to know what's going on in America. And you can just say words on the internet now, and nothing means. I mean, so the idea, I understand there is this perception, like when you read the Boston Globe, the idea that everyone's feeding from the same trough, so that when you get together with your friends, you actually have common things to pass back and forth. The things they've been giving us to pass back and forth have been getting more and more ridiculous, and then more and more offensive and nonsensical. It's clear that it's either for fun or it's a form of psychological cognitive attack warfare.
Humor can be a form of activism as well, you know.
Because the theory is that, you know, the reason we all have these devices in our pockets is so that we can all be mustered to go to war against China one day. And it might be China sending us these devices. And so if everyone's becoming a hypnotic reactionary and scrolling for their newsfeed because that's where the truth is, we need to break people from that paradigm. I like what you're saying about the way
Twitter was cool.
That makes a lot of sense.
Twitter was cool.
Almost like a codex, like, right?
Twitter was cool 15 years ago or whatever, when Raspberry Pis were first coming out, and like when there's a volcano going off, it's something sending a signal directly to Twitter, and it's posting a 128-bit message. And so all of these robots were able to send alerts, and so you could have instantaneous. What do you call that? So in Rome, you know, you'd have the message of the Caesar read out to all of these different towns. So all of a sudden he could be heard across all of Rome, his word, right? That's what's cool about Twitter, and the fact that it's instantaneous, that, you know, as soon as something happens, you can hear about it, and you don't have to wait for it to go through regurgitation. Yeah,
but for instance, R.I.P. Jimmy Fallon starts trending on Twitter.
That's awesome.
Elon a message. And
is that what's in your?
There's nothing wrong with that.
You know.
Hold on. Anyone else know what fix means in British? It means arrange it.
Arrange.
The fix is in.
It's almost like Jimmy Fallon was texting Elon Musk saying, "Can you arrange this?" And it said,
"Oh, right."
And he's like, "All right, I'll fix it." Like, meaning, like,
yeah, I mean, so people can't be trusted to communicate clearly, but so
even with the game of telephone, even if you get the phonetics and the elocution,
okay, and if that's
speaking, right?
That's the cost. That's the cost. And then so if you're that kind of person, you wait 48 hours for it to go through CNN. But if you want, you can get the information as it's coming out and digest it yourself. You know, that's the reason it's okay. And in the meantime, only until we have something better. Were you talking about the blood moon thing that was Rambo?
Eddie?
No. Well, basically, just I was just talking about the well, you know what Elon Musk said, right? He said he's banning Alex Jones because he offended him for you know, the children who are firstborn of these families. So he's firstborn. Elon Musk sacrifices born, just like all these celebrities, like you know, the moon.
Allegedly, Eddie. Look at, they're cutting you up because they want you to be careful what you say.
Allegedly, yeah, just said it.
You're the one with the good job. Like, why don't you be careful? I mean, all right. Here's the thing.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, unless you've worked in a NICU.
So.
In which case you probably lost. I don't understand how people there maintain their sanity.
So there's 237 people working at Twitter, plus Elon Musk, which is 238. 237 people working at Twitter. And after they fired everybody else. And the way he did it was he said, if you can code, come to work, prove it, send some your most salient line of code you've written in the last 6 months. And so that's the way he actually got people. Like, did you actually learn to code? Do you really know to code? And there wasn't actually nearly that many people. And it shows you that 237 people is probably all it took to run Twitter for the last few years, considering how it's been running. So yeah, it sucked for a long time. But I imagine now it's going to be like a new upstart jump. You know, what do you call it? Start up.
Yeah, I wish I had gotten into it instead of Facebook in the first place and just started with Twitter.
The idea of why someone's baby might have died in their arms, it was said on stream. And this isn't fun to think about. And again, if you haven't been around birth and things that can happen.
There was somebody who was like a Sandy Hook parent who said, look, I hate Alex Jones, but I think it's ridiculous what you're saying, Elon Musk, because you just said you wanted a freedom of speech platform. And now you're saying you're not going to do that. And so even though I'm like a member of the mothers and parents against Alex Jones, I'm not for the keep Alex Jones.
Okay, so picture this though. Your baby has a bit of a traumatic birth and gets whether it's the suction cup or just coming through the birth canal was created a little compression. And the doctors there have seen this. And if you don't lower the baby's body temperature significantly, its head is going to swell to the size of a watermelon and then it's going to die. And that's not a very nice way to go. And there actually is a way to, again, I don't know this for a fact because I've seen a video of it. I just was reading research online, and I'm not trying to put forward something as like new science. There's somewhat old science, but literally someone wants to take your baby and go put it in the fridge for a second. And you're going, what? And if you don't allow them to do that, then you're dealing with the consequences of what might happen from there. But some people you're not taking my baby to the other room and giving it vaccines. I know you're going to give it vaccines. It's like, no, I'm actually going to put your kid in the fridge, and in 4 hours, if we're all lucky and we get its blood right and we get its heart pumping, then everything's going to be fine. And if not, you just saw what happened to that child on the way out of the womb. Like, would you survive getting pulled through a tennis racket? No.
There's many specific examples to the broad generality that is the Dr. House problem. And it is that most people don't know everything, and they think they do because they watch
delayed development. And when you have these head injuries as a child, they're in a higher likelihood for delayed development. And whether it shows up on the intelligence scale is what's called retardation or idiocy or moron or idiocy.
The problem
depends
is
on when and where you are.
The problem is just because the parents don't know everything, and it's right, they're often the exact cause because there's many causes for the illness or the disorders in health. It could be, I remember an episode where some guy's working in a shop, sends his kid to college, didn't want him to have to go to college, but wanted to remember where he came from because he worked all the time in a junkyard, gives him a little piece of metal he found in the junkyard. The guy's dying, and the guy will die because the piece of metal he gave his son from the junkyard really came from some military craft and has like radioactive material in it, and didn't realize it, just thought it looked cool. So it's been like killing the guy for like the last year and a half. And so he doesn't know any better because he's just a sweet dad who's trying to say, remember where and this is just constantly instilled in people through Hollywood, this idea that you don't know any better and that these guys are thinking millions of miles faster than you are about all sorts of things. And that might be true, but that doesn't change the fact that the parents are right, that in terms of knowing that the doctor's information can't be trusted either. I mean, all the time.
And Eddie, do we know how old he was when his first baby died? Because for all you know, he was 12, he was 13. Imagine that.
Yeah,
that's a good question. I don't know what age.
And then he might have been with someone his age, and of course the pregnancy didn't come to term well. The body wasn't ready for it, or whatever. I mean,
I don't know.
But people have all types of experiences that it's hard to relate to. That one, to admit that out loud on Twitter, shows that he is going through something where Twitter is a vehicle for his soul at this point. I mean.
I don't know. I feel like there's some serious guilt trip going on. I mean, why would you even
right? Why would you bring it up?
Yeah, it doesn't even associate. It doesn't seem to. It has nothing to do with Jones.
Because people will click on fart videos, but no one
so objectively
about how people are born.
It's so objectively not cause based. It's just a personal thing.
Oh, he didn't get removed. He didn't get removed for Twitter over the Sandy Hook stuff. He got removed for Twitter from he called some names to some reporters or something. What did he call him? A rat? Something. He had some. He hurled some insults, and they removed him for that. That was how. And he fucking broke down crying before he ever got sued about the Sandy Hook kids. I felt it was authentic. I mean, you know, he cried in public about and did apologize at the time, and then he got sued. Am I remembering this correctly? I mean, we can look up why Alex Jones got removed from Twitter. It wasn't Sandy Hook.
It didn't seem like it mattered because at the time it was a bunch of companies all with interchangeable board members that were saying, you know what, it's time to remove Alex Jones from all the networks, and it happened in 6 or 7 different networks all within like a week.
Sure, but they stated the reasons at the time, and they had nothing to do with fucking what they're saying. You know. Way we treat it now after his case.
I heard, so here's the best theory I heard for how Trump to best capitalize on even not being on Twitter. And he still has a chance to do this. So if he has some sort of proxy account that says the president's about to tweet, and that whatever that is able to tweet 15 minutes in advance to Twitter, then he's going to drive a lot more traffic to his platform that way. And if that's what he wants is Truth Social to be a multi-billion-dollar, I don't know that is important to him as it is to other people around him. But there are a lot of people who are working.
Apparently, he tweeted that the Queen was being Muslims were demanding the Queen convert to Islam or leave the country. He's saying all kinds of stuff. Transgenderism is a CIA plot to depopulate humanity.
Dude, I don't know, man. I feel like we need some fools out there. We need some madmen. I think the more the problem is the way what we do with it more than just that they're out there. Like I'm glad that David Icke's around. I want David Icke on Twitter. I fucking love David Icke on Twitter. Come on.
But he can't travel in Europe for the next like 2 years or something. He got put on.
Oh yeah. No, there's places. There's places Rupert Murdoch can't go in the world because of money laundering. They'll arrest him immediately. You know, it's like there's a lot of I mean, you know, it's just fucking.
Right. When 9/11 happened, I was like, well, America is harboring 8 dictators that are responsible for a lot more than 3,000 deaths, and it's like
all the Bin Laden family flew out of it, flew out of the country.
Again, that was something I was told as a youth to subvert my trust in authority for better or for worse. I don't know if those things are true, but you know.
Hey, go to my Twitter.
Good. Yeah.
So this is a big rewind. I'll try one more time. It's not a big deal if I don't get the story out. But with Hook, the moon sink is at one point, Hook's Peter Pan's kids are trapped in a net and Hook hoists them up above the deck of his pirate ship. And they're calling out to him, and he's going, Peter, what's the problem? Those are your kids, right? You can hear them. That's your language. Just reach up and touch them. How about this? If you could just reach up and touch them, I'll let you go. No problem. And so the idea that there might be a moon base, or that someone was reflecting radio waves off of a crater in the moon, or maybe even a piece of equipment that was set up there. A lot of laser rangefinder stuff was sent up early on as little rovers and that sort of thing. But it's playing out as an allegory to this idea that, imagine if the signal you were getting from the moon too was in Ukrainian, and the Russians are going, I can't even quite understand what they're saying, and the Americans are like, no, we're pretty sure there's someone on the moon asking for help, and this has been a consistent signal. We've done everything we can to isolate that it's not someone from Earth sending the signal there and bouncing it back to us, and it sounds like they're about to start eating each other up there, you know. And it's like, well, if you've been up there before, why don't you go again? And the nature of some of these programs is that you pull up the ladder behind you for one reason or another, whether it's because you don't think it's safe that everyone can be at the moon, or I don't know. But
yeah, so up at the top of these tweets. Oh yeah, this is a good one. But no, I want to talk about ET and Poltergeist again for the umpteenth time because it's so fucking interesting. But yeah, so there's this whole thing like there's this writer for ET. That Spielberg chose because she knew how to write children's dialogue really well, right? So he basically expressed of this woman, Melissa Matheson, that that E.T.'s glowing heart was her. And so just the other day, Wise Blood came out with her new album and called "And in the Darkness, Hearts Aglow."
Okay.
And so I was tripping out because I was like, what is the first thing in media that I think of when I see like a glowing heart like this, you know? And I was like, and anyone I ask, it's the same thing. It's like ET.
And now Eddie's rock.
But yeah, but I'm like, if you go into like ET's glowing heart, according to Spielberg, it's this woman. So you're like, this woman wrote The Black Stallion when she, not the book, but she wrote the script of the movie. And so I was like wanting to know what to pair this album with, because every Wise Blood album I've totally had interesting success with in that way. And so I was like, oh, too bad there's not like a horse, right? So like the album just came out. I had it pre-ordered on vinyl. I get home and I open it up and I pull out the inside sleeve and it's just a picture of her on a horse. And it's funny because she contributed to Lana Del Rey's album Chemtrails Over the Country Club, which I pair with the Misfits. It's also on the website. So which I don't know if you know the Misfits, but it's Marilyn Monroe's last film. It's the guy who did the Crucible, who wrote the Crucible, Arthur Miller. So she was married. Yeah, so she was married to Arthur Miller, and she had designed a home that they were going to live in together. I forget that most famous architect at the time. You probably know it, but anyway,
Franklin Wright. Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
And so he was impressed by Marilyn Monroe's design, and that design nothing came of it because he filed for divorce right before they started shooting this film. And that design ended up being a country club on Hawaii that Marilyn Monroe made. And so my take on Chemtrails Over the Country Club is it's all about Marilyn Monroe's relationship to Arthur Miller and their long breakup while she was shooting his film, The Misfits, which actually culminates in Black Rock City. So Burning Man without, the our Burning Man, it's that plateau. So, or that lake bed, ancient lake bed. And so anyway, I paired this new album with The Black Stallion because it shares the same writer who's ET's glowing heart, and I was just completely blown away. So I've been up for 2 days with that. I just uploaded it before the show.
That's legit. I will watch this.
Was Black Stallion directed by
it's not directed by Coppola, but it's a Coppola film. Francis Coppola.
Okay, so it's Zoetrope. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, phenomenal movie in the first place, but yeah,
it's a good film.
So that's the new digs, but yeah, I don't know, man, like, and so ET and Poltergeist connect in this really in a million ways. The spirit comes out of the TV as it reads 237. The two films are the same length. They were filmed in their sets overlap. They were filmed at the same time. Steven Spielberg oversaw both productions. They have like different dogs that look exactly the same. Like, and then they say in Poltergeist, this house has many hearts. And then there's all the, there's E.T.'s heart connects to the heart of the house, which is the closet. So like Carol Ann disappears into the closet, and then Elliot hides E.T. in the closet where he essentially lives through most of the movie. E.T. is living off of Elliot's life force. The beast in Poltergeist is using Heather O'Rourke for her life force.
When these syncs line up like this, are you saying that this clearly isn't coincidence? This is an artistic homage being paid, correct?
It sure looks like it. With this one, it's really it feels less likely
to me,
that this happened on its own. If this did happen on its own, then that's profound. If it didn't happen on its own, then it's still amazing.
Yes, as an artistic, the ability to see something through to that detail when it is potentially so contrived or unrelated. It's interesting that it seems to be a model that's followed in Hollywood, where you can hollow out one movie and somehow use, whether it's the pacing of a song structure from an album that seems unrelated, or but maybe connected through gematria, that sort of thing. To me, I could see how from the outside, some people, again, they say it seems like devil worship, or it seems satanic, and the reason is they say you could be reading the Bible and then going out into the world and marveling at how things seem to match up between this or that.
It's a very Salem, Massachusetts.
And so by choosing to be exposed to this, they would be concerned. I don't think Mr. Plate is about to decide to paint his nails black.
I've seen
he's going to go to the
David
supermarket
Slade read the Torah while painting his nails, wearing little ET finger puppets. So you have no idea what this man's capable of.
But we're not young and impressionable. And other people that start seeing these syncs, and they're not sure if what you're saying is that it's an artistic execution, because megalomania is a bitch, so to speak. Knowing what that feels like, going to architecture school, the profession known most for the personality type of megalomania are architects, because you kind of have to be a master, or in the past. Nowadays, they've compartmentalized the industry a little bit. But at the same time, most attractive profession to women, outside of being like a finance person, second on that list was architect. There's somehow an intrigue in it, when in reality, it actually corresponds to a personality type that's almost insufferable, myself included. But so to me, again, the amount of effort, it's like, right, these productions are so extensive and elaborate that they might as well also do these kind of syncs. And
but the things that people, artistic people know how to observe, pattern seeking, and pattern seeking is very it's what do you call it? It's chaos. It's it's fractal. The universe is fractal, and people, how do things
well, see,
put together?
The mind though is able to pick up patterns.
Speaking of which, the sun has been intense the last week, and new solar flares are headed towards the Earth. This was 2 days ago. Then I've got these warnings: solar warning, CME ejected by the sun, set to hit Earth today. And so if you haven't noticed, today has been kind of like a high energy day, even though it's wintertime and it seems pretty dark. So I've been wondering about that a lot, because several people I was for instance, the internet for Kaylin dying earlier, and just things that have just been kind of crazy, energy wise for people.
You keep saying that. Who died?
No, the internet. The internet.
Okay,
although also several of my friends recently. My friend,
I want to go back to. I want to go back to my.
I missed that. I missed
a tweet.
Okay.
Wait,
Andreas, so a friend of yours passed away, Andreas? Is that what you're
saying? Yeah, the other day. But that's not related to this. Hold on, Eddie, what were you saying?
Oh, no. I want to go back to that moon sync that I posted. I try to put my mind together with that.
Oh, did you find it? Did you post it in the message?
You actually passed it several times. I just never kind of
okay.
About it.
Okay, sorry.
Well, Artemis, right? Artemis was basically launched around the same time. The FIFA took off. So basically, for that one, okay, look at that one. Scroll up. And so the FIFA logo pretty much tells the path of Artemis. How it's
interesting. It's a Mobius strip.
It's a Vallis loop.
Yeah, Vallis loop, right? So we know the distance between the moon and Earth is 230, roughly. An average of 237,000 miles, and we know, now we're talking about Artemis, which is, in The Shining, we know Danny Torrance is wearing Apollo 11 shirt, right? That sweater.
Mm-hmm.
So he represents the twin of Artemis. Apollo and Artemis, the twins born by Leto, right? Jerry Leto. The out of wedlock, whatever you call it. So Leto was forced to have these twins on an island that Poseidon created, because Zeus's wife Hera cursed all land, when she shall never bear children on any land I curse. Right, that's what she did. So she was just being chased everywhere, and Poseidon had mercy on her and created an island that's not attached to Earth, which is also in euphemism is also is about the moon, the rock that was born out of the Earth. Well,
totally. So that's why the eagle lands in the first place. I mean, why do we have a solar god landing on the moon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
we all know that there is such a thing as a geostationary satellite, right?
Yeah.
Who's to say that you couldn't have one that was just really close to Earth? Like, for all we know, there's something floating over Antarctica. because something else melted out from underneath it.
So have you guys seen this? So there's a flat Earth. This is the flat Earth. Wow, guys, the flat Earth map. Flat Earth map. This is the bigger flat Earth map. What if the moon is really just reflecting from outside the ice wall, and we're just seeing a reflection in the sky from Artemis's island? But go ahead.
Oh no, I was just trying to say that since now you said there's a CME coronal mass ejection, and I don't know. I think it's reacting to what's going on as Artemis just landed on the moon yesterday. Well, landed or they went into orbit. I forgot what it was.
Did they? Because it's funny when they first. I didn't even look at I didn't see live or anything. I usually have a follow for all lives from NASA, but.
Basically, it went as close. Yeah,
a couple weeks ago they canceled the launch. Everyone was like, "Okay, I guess it's not going to happen." So then, now that it actually happened during a solar flare, when everyone's told to worry that the electronics could go out, that's when they decided to do it. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. No, and also another.
Because all the other windows were bought and paid for. That was the free one that was open to the public.
Yeah, but then if someone says, "Hey, there looks like there's something wrong on this monitor," then they're like, "Yeah, well, there's a solar flare. Go back to sleep."
Well, on the spacecraft there are two dummies on it. Two dummies on board.
I bet there's more than that. Sorry.
Yeah, more than that. There's 3 dummies. A lot of dummies. But they're wearing these suits, the experimental suits, the radiation suits. So I'm like, wait a second. They could have had that suit developed back in Apollo 11. Why they're testing it now.
What I love is the gloves that they had. Like, you look at the gloves and you're like, I mean, I've seen footage of them, picking up rocks and stuff. And I'm like, you would not want to pick up a rock with these gloves. And the idea that these were somehow strong enough. Oh, can I zoom in a little bit? Come on.
It just
flew. Don't get me wrong. Vectran's cool. Don't get me wrong. Where's the gloves though? Oh, this is his.
But the notion though that ancient astronauts could not have built suits out of leather. When we think about leather as cowhide, which is cute, but whale skin is 8 inches thick. So somewhere between whale skin and cow skin, there is a creature out there that might have looked like a dinosaur. So think about that trip. There's those Velociraptor or T-Rex suits that people put on for Halloween, and they're pretty convincing. And it's just
I'm literally wearing Velcro gloves.
But imagine the first men that landed on the moon all got out wearing dinosaurs, right? Because that was their spacesuit. It was watertight and waterproof and
petroleum.
Well, you know what? Actually, David, what about the Chosen? The chest plates of the high priest.
Oh yeah, we've discussed that on here before. Yeah, what is that called? It's the something and the something. What is that? The breastplate called for the.
I thought it's just called Chosen, right? The chosen people.
No. There's it's the Urim and the Thingen or something. There it is.
Urim and Thummim. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I can remember because Mormons love this. This is what the Mormons use to read the Book of Mormon. So
those correspond to the 12 tribes. They say so.
But isn't this also supposed to be like an anti-radiation suit? Like, open the covenant, right? Like the Ark of the Covenant. It's radiation blasting.
Do those correspond to the 12 birth zones? I wonder.
Yeah. There's a way in which I believe Manly P. Hall argues that this is the ultimate, well, maybe not ultimate, but it's related to the tarot. So it's a not fortune telling. That's a dumb way to put it, but like prophecy tool. So they use it for prophecy purposes. So
like Joseph Smith reading the Book of Mormon. See, it's all contextual. It makes perfect sense.
Right. It's so crazy that like apparently there was like some explanation that came out that they found that was written and authenticated from Joseph Smith of the salamander thing, tying it back to Newt. This guy got it. But no, there was like where he was basically like giving it explaining the allegory of it. And I guess because the salamander is like an alchemical symbol, and so it had an occult basis. And that Joseph Smith, I guess, not that long ago, they found some other writings that like disproved what had been the teachings used in their church, and so like people were apparently murdered over this. I might be getting this a little bit wrong, but something along these lines is how it went down. Yeah. So like they didn't, the Mormon Church did not want a rational explanation of something to come out because it was so in place what they already have. It's kind of like, if we find out more dinosaurs had feathers, you can't do anything about all the kids' bed sheets in Jurassic Park. You know what I mean? Like it's
So,
done. Like
the salamander letter is supposed to be a fake doc. This is a wiki story. Is that it was a fake document that was initially accepted by experts and rejected by others. So some of the church believed in it, and it was believed by a bunch of the church. It was accepted by, I think, one of the important prophets of the church, and then later on, let's see, 1984, they wanted it to trade it for $10 million Mormon gold piece, right?
Is this the same thing? Is this the same thing, or is it something about him talking about it that kind of ended the controversy? That's what I thought it was.
There's something eventually. There's bombings. Yeah, there's all kinds of things that went down in 1984.
Because there's a salamander letter in the first place where he's the trip out on the salamander, and then but then there's supposedly something where he's actually speaking rationally to it. Like he's like, this is just a trip, you know.
How I missed this? I'll try to Google it. What the salamander letter? What's the context?
The bomb explosion. Maybe this is it. Check it out.
Yeah, this is it. So basically, salamander letter. This is something that was found in the 1980s, and so then eventually the church was using this, and then the guy blew up the building using a mercury switch, but without a safety switch. 2 people were killed. Christensen in his office, the main target. Kathleen Sheets at her home. The bomb was intended as diversion to draw.
But what is this? The salamander is just the name. Is that the guy's name? Or
no. The idea is that Joseph Smith, when he talked, so Joseph Smith is a kid who's like, man, which religion do I join? And then he's trying to think, what do I join? And then he sees Jesus, and he sees Verona, and then all of a sudden he sees the salamander, and people are like,
in the sky, right?
People are like, wait a second,
circumcised penis coming out of the sky.
People are like, what did you see? Like an orb, like an orbital. He's like an orbital light. I saw an orbital light. Like, well,
it's not a circumcised penis coming out of the sky. Anyways,
that is, bro.
You're the one showing me all the dirty pictures, man. I don't know.
I'm not. Nothing.
What about Bob?
I'll Google it because
hold on. Bottom line is that Lucifer is not a lizard. He's a amphibious salamander, right? And so that the amphibious part is the point. Connects to newt, has to do with the feminine. It's all kinds of stuff like that.
Type in fire salamander. That'll get you more what you're after.
Who thought they were a salamander? Was John Smith? No.
Okay. Oh, no. Where's the alchemy with it? Maybe alchemical fire salamander.
I feel like you guys are messing with me, but I've also kind of
there we go.
Hear me out.
We're not messing with you. The idea that the devil is a salamander is like and look at a newt salamander. Compare them. The idea that these things were huge at some point. There's so many of them. They live really quickly, and fast. The idea that this was connected with this other time, also like their mothers, because they're constantly leaving their eggs around. Newt salamanders are connected to this idea, and so the idea that Lucifer might have been the character instead of Christ was the question that a lot of people were asking, because like, wait a second, are you a Christian or not? It's like, no.
That's the main point of controversy.
Hey, guys, hear this. Salamander is probably one of the only creatures on Earth that has the third eye with a complete set of because it's pineal gland.
It's on top of it.
It's on top of the skull, but also it has complete components of eyeball. I mean, it has retina, it has cornea. So I mean, it's the only creature that has a pineal gland structure like an eyeball. I think that it probably is an instrument of communication with the other world. I mean, maybe it's liquid.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. That's why in the Golden Dawn and all these systems, why they're so heavily focused on the imagery, and then you can see it like with even like Disney what he says at the beginning of Fantasia. It's your mind's eye and developing that's tied to the pineal gland, because when you're in deep sleep and you're dreaming, your pineal gland is so activated. It's a chief component in your internal visualization. And that helps with memory and all kinds of things. That's also why you keep a magical diary, is because when you look back at those bullet points of your day, you can go back to that day. You know, you can see, it's like, you know, when you're trying to remember your dreams, and there's like these little anchor points where you're like, oh, I have these reference points that bring it up. And that's a lot of what the correspondences are too, in like 777 and what they're going for there. That's the original sync book, you know. It's like,
have you heard of the Tuatara? It's a type of reptile that's not a salamander, but as far as these outlier species and how in one wave of destruction, I think Andreas brought up in one of his previous streams how the whole continent of Australia at one point kind of burned. And since then, the giant birds haven't been doing so well. But it takes 38 years for this thing to reach sexual maturity. So it has this latent phase in its development.
It's like the mascot
no more
for like
giant ones.
gamers.
So there's certain fish that are called invasive species when you go to Caribbean reefs, and when you go down to the Bahamas or Turks and Caicos. The problem is, like the lionfish, it doesn't grow to huge numbers, but what it does do is it's very good at eating the juveniles of the species.
That's smart. So that way, only like if you got to make it for 38 years before you can breed. That's why they're so awesome. They're like the primus of their. Okay, all right.
But so it doesn't look like the ecosystem's changing. But then 10 years later, there's no more large fish on the reef anymore. And it's
but they can do it. They just can't breed until 38. Now it's starting to make.
We were talking about the Olm in like underground rivers, and it might be that these things will reemerge in time. But
lizards
we've
are
done a
smart.
pretty good job of. I mean, one thing that I heard about being green and eco-friendly is a short statement: is how would we feel about the Romans if they left us no biodiversity?
That's what they did. They salted the hell out of Carthage.
Right. And it's like
Libya wasn't a desert when the Romans were there. The Romans, I blame the Romans single-handedly for turning the Sahara to desert. I think, even though they didn't exist.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. No, you might as well blame someone that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Hey, Andreas, can you go back to my Twitter? We always talking about lizards and Lucifer, but go to the top. Go to the very top.
As we do.
You know, Jim Carrey's got a new film coming out.
Oh no!
Here we go. So instead of God Almighty, it's
Lucifer.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is this true? Is this true?
He's going to acquire.
I'm so excited.
Power. He's not going to have the power of God this time. He's going to have power of Lucifer.
Seven fingers.
So it's going to be. I don't know. Do you think it's going to be more powerful or less powerful?
I think it's gonna be a sympathy film about how the devil is just giving you what you want, and it's your fault for wanting that, and you should realize that your choice is your limiting factor, and you're supposed to try to figure out what's right in the universe and be part of that flow.
And if you want to show your kids Sonic and Knuckles and Carrey movies, you know the dark shit he's made in the past. If you've IMDb'd him, he's gone into some really
dark waters
territory.
Was that with Charlotte Gainsbourg? Where he's like the Irish cop and he's all like listening to the recording of the.
Didn't he even play like a pedophile cartoonist at one point? Like really just
a pedophile? No, he wasn't a pedophile.
That undesirable role, you know.
No.
Which movie are you talking about?
This
is the guy who made. This is the guy who made Ace Ventura and Bruce Almighty. And you can all kinds of stuff. So he's exactly, and he's super into yoga, and you can see how Ace Ventura happened. When I was a kid, Ace Ventura, I've made an episode about this, involved with Glenn Maxwell and Echo the Dolphin. Ace Ventura terrified me, right? Because Ace Ventura, I mean, it didn't really terrify me. It just didn't make me laugh exactly because I was so young that I just was like, this is real. This is someone's life. I didn't see.
And that scene in the upper left means a lot more to me now than it did before.
It's all about opening up the chakra down there. You know what I'm saying?
When you're
open up
when you're a kid, you're basically you don't have the context. As you get older, you're like, okay, there's ways of behavior, and this man's not behaving those ways, and that's funny. But when you're a kid, you see a guy, and you're like, this is a model for behavior. I've seen other models for behavior. I've not seen this movie showing it as a successful model for behavior. So it's not funny. It's just this is the way he behaves. And eventually that is what children think of as normalized. And I thought that was the strange thing about his entire character is he goes through this self-transformation, ascension, life, death, astral projection, goes to Tibet, is way too annoying to stay there and has to go to Africa, right? And then I don't know the whole thing.
Oh, you're saying through the series of the Ace Ventura movies. I didn't quite pick up on the multi-narrative arc, but right, no, he was too annoying for India. He wouldn't fit in the monasteries, so they sent him down. Okay.
Yeah, and so and it kind of transcends into this idea of his Bruce Almighty character because he's like, okay, now you get to become God and you get to see what it's like to have all this power. But then the Lucifer character is going to be like, okay, you're limited to what Lucifer's role is, and Lucifer's role isn't to be evil. Lucifer's role is to give you what you want until it destroys you, so that you learn that you're supposed to be in yoga, according to what Tom Shaddock. Look at this guy. That's what it's
Nintendo.
I bet you a shekel. I bet
that's kind of coming from this like knowing what's good for you place, which is a little weird when you're asking for direct advice about something. I went to one African church in Malawi, and it was not in an urban center, and asked a question of two of the village elders that were on the front porch. I don't know if they were connected to the church officially, and they answered my question in a way that was direct and straightforward. And before they answered, one of them turned to the other, and they kind of muttered something back and forth, and then came back to me with a very clear, concise answer that made me go, whoa, because I'd asked that of many religious people, many religious scholars, and every time they wouldn't even address the question I was asking. It was like it was flippant or something. And
dude, Cat Stevens was way better off before he started dressing like Osama bin Laden. Like, obviously, what did you expect to happen at airports? That's all I'm saying. But
so the name Moses, the way it comes down in the tradition, it means I found him by the river. And I'm going, if the woman who found him by the river was trying to raise him as part of her family in the Pharaoh's castle without being discovered, why on God's green earth would you name the child I found him by the river? And again, it's like I've asked this question dozens of times to dozens of people, and no one's. And it took them 5 seconds to go, oh,
here's a question: How did Moshe Rabbeinu write the whole Torah that continues on after his death? That might be another.
So here's a couple of things here. So the Hebrew didn't exist for a long time, and it's based on a lot of Arabic, which is also from the Egyptian. And the word Moses, like Ra Moses, was son of.
Right, and people here in the Synctank, they immediately go to this type of analysis, and that's great. And this is the answer, right? There's a linguistic change.
Well, it's like Yankovic. Yankovic means son.
That's not the response. I don't know.
Yankovic means son of John, right? Yank, and then John, or Yan and Kovic, right? So son of, and so the same thing with Moses. And so you've got this idea of Ram Moses, and then you just said the other one, Moshe Rabbeinu. What do you say?
Rabbeinu, yeah.
So that probably, I don't know for sure, but it could be son of the rabbi or something to that effect. It might be what the name even comes to mean. And we have these terms for people.
And it makes more sense that I found him by the river as a meaning became attached to the name Moses after the story of Moses was popularized, which was probably, again, after the moments in time in which his life was in jeopardy for having been adopted.
That actually sounds like something you'd hear from a Judeo-Christian, I think. Is that kind of that, because you'll have things that are kind of vaguely associated with their meanings. We're talking about telephone again, or grapevine, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And it probably didn't help that the question I asked before that was what would happen if I were wearing a leather coat and I spilled milk on it? Is that kosher? They probably realized I wasn't coming from necessarily a genuine place of inquiry, but at the same time, as a child, when you see inconsistencies like that, if they can be addressed, perhaps it would have set me on a different path in terms of respecting the wisdom that most religions do have to offer.
Well, a lot of the things that are now just practice had practical purpose at a time that's not needed anymore. So the swine thing is an obvious example of that, where we've related to it like that's the religion, when it was also like, hey, you might want to do this because we found that through troubleshooting, we found what didn't work, and diseases that existed aren't, there's all kinds of functional reasons.
Sargon of Akkad, shout out to Sargon, back on Twitter. But Sargon was originally virtually the same story. Placed in a basket, set adrift in a river to avoid infanticide, rescued and raised by royalty. The main difference being that, actually the same story. The mother's a high priestess of Sargon in this case, and then taken in by peasants who are then somehow he's raised by royalty. And in Moses's circumstance, he is part of royalty that is also a peasant because they're refugees in a foreign land that have recently lost they were in power there, right, under Joseph, but now they've lost power. So then he gets raised in the temple under, so it's virtually the same story. And then there's the palm trees, the rivers, and Sargon means there was a Sargon Moshe Sargon or something like that, which has to do with coming through the palms. So there is a connection there to being birthed by coming through the split palms to some extent.
I think one of the most interesting parts of Exodus is these the 3 verses where Moses basically sings a song. It's like poetry, like before the waters part. So there's these 3 verses, each are 72 letters, and so they're related to I don't know what you would call it. I think in European occultism they'd say like a working but there's a treatment of the way that those verses are related to, where the first verse is read normally, which is right to left. The second verse is read backwards, left to right, and then the third verse is read back to right to left. And those three verses are actually traditionally related to as vertical. So they're essentially pillars. So then it relates to the splitting of the sea itself, which is like the two sides.
It reminds me of stories you've heard of
parting.
people who can write two sentences on a blackboard with two hands, and one's being written from the forwards. And
yeah, kind of.
And so
yeah, well,
they'd
say it's Klipot because the Klipot mirror tetragrammaton. So this is actually one of the names. It's a 216 letter name. If you've ever seen the film Pi, what I'm talking about right now with those three verses that Moses says, that's where that comes from. So when he's like, there's indicators of it that he, Pi points at certain things very directly without, and they'll play little games with it. So like when he writes,
it's like Zoolander. If you only turn left, then eventually you only can turn left. And by
right. So like when they're in the coffee shop and he writes out those the gematria as he's going through it, he says the value of the garden, but he doesn't actually write Aden. He writes the direction which Adam and Eve left the garden. And it follows, it works. All the math is correct. But when he says the name of the garden, why did he say that? He's actually talking about northeast. So, it's why James Dean is in that movie based on that book, East of Eden. That's what I believe that's what they're referring to, is where they exit the garden. So it's the fall. So,
So that idea of presidents, that was the story that used to circulate about presidents in order to get them elected, is they can speak 7 languages and that they can write sentences on the blackboard with 2 hands. And it was supposed to be the smartest guy in the room and the most cultured. And now the last time we elected a multilingual president that was known, I couldn't name it off the top of my head. Right. Just an interesting thing to point out.
Well, yeah. I mean, in the story of Exodus, you're literally like you're ascending through this is a Kabbalistic interpretation of it, is that you're actually moving along. It's the same as 2001: A Space Odyssey, the way you go from planet to planet. But as you move through it, they're being liberated. And so them wandering in the desert is essentially da'at. So that's not a Sephiroth. That's what people sometimes say, the 11 Sephiroth or whatever. Yeah, and the Klipot. So the Klipot mirror tetragrammaton, that's what reading the middle one backwards is about. But it also is, there's the acknowledgement. This is from Ramak when speaking to it. And my rabbi used to think differently about this until we came across this together, because he acknowledged that he's like, when you're relating to reading this backwards, like don't, like, everything is of Ein Sof, even the outside ones. So there's nothing that isn't of that. There's nothing. It's just they're compensating for there's a defect. The defect isn't implicit in the thing itself. It's created by this other factor that gets introduced. And otherwise, everything would just be static. It's like the idea of, like, if everything's in equilibrium, everything kind of cancels itself out. When you have like a vector metric and all the vectors are the exact same length, that's the significance of the 6-pointed star, or extending it further as a star tetrahedron. Because every point is the same length, so it has equal compensation from all ends, and you can extrapolate all the Platonic solids from.
Does a point have no length, and therefore it's equal to all other length? I wonder. Interesting.
Well, yeah, it's just,
it has infinite length, but it's restricted by other zones existing all around it.
Right. So it's
you brought
the
up
middle
the ham,
pillar. Yeah.
The ham analogy. I sent Andreas. It's like 8 lyrics or something that is a great play on words of just ham.
Oh, the mark of ham. Right.
Is there? I mean, he can finish what he was talking about. I was just going to say maybe.
I'll just add that 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. 72 times 3 is 216. 216 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 is 237. Just putting that out there. Take from away.
I remember when I was doing all my math by hand, and sure the graphing calculator was there, but eventually being familiar with times tables up to 24 or something, and then it goes. But the more the conversions that I had in my head more recently from my career, 10 years writing specifications, was converting a bunch of metric calculations to inches or back and forth. So if a 40-page document had 400, 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, and are we going to 1 decimal place or 2? And so instead of having to do the calculation each time, but It'd be fun to just read those lyrics if you click back to them, right? I can pull them up as well.
Yeah.
It's a song by Midnight. And so the play on word, the idea of a double meaning by accident versus on purpose. And Busta Rhymes just dropped a few new beats to a couple new songs, and the things that I'm hearing on top of what he's saying because of the consonants, there was a line about Pete Davidson where he didn't say either of those. It was pretty great. But so this is a banking in the pig. So like you have your piggy bank, and he says banking, it's the filthiest thing. And then they call Imon the sons of Ham, and they call my skin color, they call it pigmentation. And if a man swindles money, if he thieves money, he's a swindler. And why them loves the swine could be no simpler, banking in the pig, and it's a psychological thing. And the implication is only the filthy rich win. And so perhaps this is a statement about not eating.
This isn't a Charles Manson song?
No, this
sounds
is
like Charles Manson responding to the White Album. But
This is like a super skanked out reggae song. And
have you guys seen
it reads pretty militant though. Yeah, their lyrics don't shy away from.
Have you guys seen Nicolas Cage's Pig?
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that movie. That was a good movie.
It's cool, but
I watch everything Nicolas Cage does. He's great.
Exactly.
I'm really trying to go deep on that film. It's pretty linear storytelling, but I know there's something deeper than this. Just going out all the way out there to oh my God,
with Nick Cage too, the willingness to play a deranged person on camera, it's really brave because especially as an actor, you're probably going into that headspace. Which
this ties
regardless
back
of
to
one's personal ability to navigate out for it, the amount of empathy you have for other people that seem to be stuck in those types of
he's a Coppola, right? It's so funny to say that you're going to change your name so that you don't get special treatment when it's like, dude, you're going to get special treatment anyway.
That's what he did. It was because he wasn't going to get a job. If you have a name and someone's like, oh yeah, my nephew wants to be in a movie, versus you say,
what it was? I don't actually
absolutely,
know.
That's how it worked. Because Nicky Coppola went to Santa Monica High School, or no, Hollywood High School, and I think it might have been Santa Monica, but I think it was Hollywood. And so he was in the right place at the right time and had everyone around him because he was the Coppola nephew. But the problem was, if everyone knew you were already in the industry, they're not going to want, or they're going to try to use you to get your money or something like that.
They're what, Andreas? They're not going to wanna.
They're not going to want to have you in the film.
Mark. Yeah, no. Again, when things in Hollywood, when people change their last names, you never know because, right? This idea that at one point you don't target family members, but those rules. But
then Francis Ford Coppola got him a job, apparently, but told them on the phone, instead of saying it's my nephew, said I know a really great actor who I've worked with, who would be perfect for your part. His name is Nicolas Cage.
That's what took Napoleon down, was nepotism, and the idea is right. If within the industry somehow you're appointed,
I thought you said Napoleon Dynamite for a second, and I was like, that's how that movie went. Sorry.
The whole problem with Napoleon, his director was his brother. No, I'm just kidding.
So this feels very relatable to me, to Black Stallion. I'm like, how did no one ever tell? I don't know what I thought. Because there was Black Beauty or whatever. I don't know.
Well,
man.
So Christian so David Ewan Jr. We did a thing recently, found out that Germans didn't eat pig very often until the 19th century, which is really interesting because you think of Germans as eating pork sausage all the time, but we have articles in newspapers from the 19th century that show when they were trying to breed pigs that were going to be hardy enough for Germany so that they could, because they couldn't live in the weather, and that they just didn't have facilities or the kinds of pigs that lived in Germany up to that point yet. So people weren't really eating pig, and it was considered to be an unclean thing. Anywhere that had been Islamic at that point, it kind of had stuck. So even places across Europe and Germany and Austria still didn't like pig. Spain was having.
This sounds like an Iceland and Greenland thing where it's like, hey, you definitely don't go to Iceland because the weather is really bad.
The Muslims, didn't like pig, but then
as a service, Knights Hospitalier, they would go festoon a whole bunch of pigs on an island.
Oh yeah, real mitzvah. No, these are not. This is not.
Other people get marooned there.
This is not a mitzvah. This is a shanda. This is not a.
Thank you.
This is not a myth. This is a Shonda, because what they're doing is they're bringing these parasites there, and so all of a sudden, when the Aborigines are eating these pigs that have been left on the islands for a couple of years, when they come back next season, they all get brain rot.
Well,
let's be clear.
If you've ever starved on a ship before, you might do that for your fellow brethren who are going to be coming generations on the same trails that you've been on the same.
They were Muslims. They weren't supposed to eat the pig.
The context here, though, is that he loves the pig.
Right.
I'm trying to remember the end of this movie. I remember that he just disappears. He gets hit. He fucking goes to find the pig. He finds his dad. I'm sorry. Should I not spoil the whole thing? I'm trying. But no, it's love for an animal, which is the same as Black Beauty, where you have this kid that just loves this horse, and it's like, we're talking about eating pig right now, and this pig finds his truffles so he can freaking eat the mushrooms. It's a mushroom hunting pig,
right? And so I think so that was the spoiler I was like the most worried about, but it's okay. And now and so you know what, guys, the movie's so important that you need to watch it. And now you understand why it's important.
Yeah.
But
I think if I ever had to take down an animal and take it apart and cook it, I might not eat meat for a while.
Pigs are not to be eaten. Pigs are to be used to find magic mushrooms and truffles, and not just ones that you can sell or you can eat, but ones that are like healthy, like reishi mushrooms. They use truffle pigs as well because they are really good. They're better than airport dogs, and they're magical, so they're associated with alchemy. But that was the reason, I think, is because probably they're so useful for actually scouting out mushrooms.
They can also walk on 3 legs, and if it's wintertime, it's one or the other. And if you just tell if it's your kid's pig and they're going to be sad, he tripped on in a hole and he lost.
And he clearly wants to get a word in.
We were just talking about Miyazaki, and you've seen Spirited Away. I mean, if that film is not warning you enough to not eat pigs, I don't know what does.
Right.
Because I think a pig is in many cultures is the reincarnation of souls have walk off the karmic path. You're basically you're in hell when you turn into a pig. You'll be eaten in the next life. Well, I don't know, but I that's what I thought originally when I thought the Hebrews and the Arabs don't eat pig because
dude, I raised a pig. I've never dealt with a cleaner pet, dude. It would its pen, its area, where it shat was as far from where it slept as it could possibly be, and he only went in one spot. It had a bathroom, you know what I mean? That clean was pig. I know there's a lot of different pigs, different situations. This is a potbelly pig.
Ideal for an animal you would eat, no?
It's the sweetest animal. You scratch it and it just plop on its side. And get under
its own shit. You don't want to eat that one. If there's an animal that does keep tidy like humans,
You
I mean, that was the thing I didn't understand in Pulp Fiction, but I guess that just wasn't my pig. I don't know what all pigs are like, but he wouldn't go near mud too. It didn't like the mud, but maybe it wasn't because it wasn't hot enough,
You should eat any animal that you can have a heart valve transplant or skin grafts from. Okay, so
well, there's something to be said though. No, that you could have there could be an autoimmune thing there. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think there's a.
So pigs are magical, pigs are lucky, and then the Black Cauldron, of course, because in the Black Cauldron, the pig is the magical seeing pig, and you have to use the pig to open the portals. But then, of course, Sauron sees back right through the rings. Different book, but
can I tie this back to Trent Reznor?
Who fucking meat? He wouldn't have made them out of animals. He wouldn't have made them out of meat,
dude. Oh yeah, that's classic. Trent Reznor had the door of Polanski's home that he actually made into the door of his studio that said "pig" in Sharon Tate's blood on the door, and so that actually, when the flood happened, when he lost his studio, he lost that door along with it. Which is kind of crazy because there's a Titanic sink with the downward spiral.
I think Elon Musk has it now.
You gotta start the downward spiral on when Billy Zane slaps Kate Winslet. You start it on the slap, and that does a whole thing. It's crazy. It's on the website actually.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
But anyway, I related it to the door at the end because he dies because he doesn't get on the door with her, and it was like this. I don't know. She's Rose, right? So you have Rosemary. Originally, Sharon Tate was going to play Rosemary and Rosemary's Baby.
I think that door is actually a symbol of a Rosy Cruz, because if you look at Rose,
Dalit, the Empress.
Yeah,
she survives. The Empress survives. And also it's like a. It feels to me like a reversal of the archetypal Kabbalistic story, which is also the Ramayana, right? Where it's like you have the separated lovers, and so the way he sinks too, there's something.
I want to make a music video about Titanic, or like rather a Titanic themed music video. But like what it'll be about is just how this dude meets this girl on a boat, and she's like super rich and annoying, and eventually he's like, "All right, look, just you go ahead. I can't deal with you anymore." And just because that's kind of, because she's like, you know what I mean? Because she's constantly using him and everything, and he's like, this has got to end at some point.
Hey, can you go to my sync videos?
Bill Burr made a joke on his podcast this week about Titanic. He goes, let's face it, that's a story about an 80-year-old woman who got some dick when she was like 18, and it was so good that she was still talking about it when she was 80 years. I mean, that must have been some good knocking boots if she's still talking about it 80 years later.
He just said that. I've heard that joke before. He got that from somebody, or I guess it was just an inevitable joke.
Yeah,
when you're on a podcast,
it is the freaking movie. I mean, that's what it is. So
right,
scroll down a little bit. Keep going.
It's such a story about a woman who got too old for
that one right there. Titanic with Titanic Rising from Wise Blood. So this is the 1953 version of Titanic. So like I went to go see her in San Jose a few months ago, and she asked the audience if there was any movies that they liked. And I shouted out the 1953 version of Titanic.
It's pretty good,
but it's great because so like in this movie you can see all these things that were taken in the current Titanic directly from this. So you have Robert Wagner, and Robert Wagner. So
I go on both things.
Who flamed Robert Wagner? Natalie Wood. So he was on the boat with Natalie Wood when she died. She died at sea, and they found bruises on her, and so there's questionable elements or whatever. So it was theorized that Robert Wagner killed Natalie Wood, but we don't know what really happened. That's actually referenced in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Brad Pitt's character when he's on a boat and he's holding a harpoon and his wife is pissing him off and it's saying like he killed his wife and got away with it. That was supposed to be a reference supposedly to Robert Wagner.
2018, Robert Wagner was named as a person of interest in the ongoing investigation to Natalie Wood's death in 1972. So, hopefully eventually they'll get around to looking into that. Did you guys ever watch Time Tunnel? Did we talk about Time Tunnel already that time?
I think Christopher Walken got away too easily. Anyway.
Yeah, right. Well, no, but he's cool, so.
Caldwell.
Yeah. But
wait, what do you got got away too easily with what?
No, he was on Robert Wagner was on the boat with Christopher Walken.
Oh, he was there too. I forgot.
They were both. Yeah, it's the whole thing because he and her were having an affair. Are we going there?
The two men would call.
No, we should go there. That's
Yeah, it's a pretty sad story, actually. There's a couple of things we could go on about that. So first off, they were married, right? And then he was having an affair with her. Plus, they were making a movie at the time called Brainstorm.
That was
and it was the greatest movie ever made. But then it's basically forgotten because they didn't release it for a while, and then it came out, and they're like, Natalie was dead. Let's just go. And so the movie kind of got disappeared. But this is just the most insane movie about Neuralink headsets that record your brain onto cassette tapes. And I wanted to go on a rant earlier about cassette tapes because I realized that we should today be using HD cassette tapes because you could contain on a cassette, like on a VHS cassette tape with like just digital information, you can hold 100 times what you can hold on the Blu-ray, right? And it'll last forever because it's in a cartridge. But they didn't want to do that, and they even made it and it existed, but they didn't want to do that. Why? Because they were so pissed off at the VCR in general.
Well, if you wanted to have a backup hard drive that was on tape, is what you're saying. It's not instant access. It's not like something you can
it's pretty close. It's pretty close to a little bit
longer. Yeah, it's
quick,
pretty close
to
instant access. As
like,
instant as a disk hard drive. But that's interesting. Huh?
It depends how you look at it, because usually with like these new giant tape storage systems, they have a hard drive still, so it'll load the tape very quickly, and it can read the tape way faster than you can watch the tape or something. So yeah, you can basically have just about instantaneous access to maybe 1,000 terabytes. You move it up or whatever. These have this is an 800 terabyte cassette tape right here, so nearly a terabyte on a tape. So depends on what you want. They have way bigger ones, like 11 terabytes and whatever. But the point is, they didn't want you to have that because the VCR pissed off Hollywood in general. They didn't like people at home recording their stuff. And so they just wanted to stop that. And they made it impossible to use, HD signal.
For consumers, because then we could keep track of them. They can keep track of us and record everything about us as much as they want. But if we had the ability to record everything in the
that's literally why they invented HDMI. It was just to keep you from being able to record onto HD cassette tapes at home. And so otherwise that technology would be everywhere. Anyway, Titanic.
Yeah, analog stuff too, just in general. Like when Apple removed the analog for the side of it, you just put in a yellow video cord and all of that, and the red and the white audio jacks, like they got rid of that. They didn't want people to do that.
Remember that Spielberg was pushing for that DVD format that you can only watch it for like 10 times and it's self-destruct.
Oh, I remember using those. What was that called? Disposable DVDs.
Yeah,
that was so crazy. Yeah, these things when you
open when they were just getting, when CDs just came out, it was like there was a bunch of cassette tapes that were like said CD quality, and they upped the it was square waves, or is it still square waves even if it's analog? You can't. That's not right. I don't know what you call that. Well, how do they do that?
Sine waves.
It was like digital on tape. What was the deal?
Oh, digital tape. Yeah, that's right. What was that called?
Digital tape. Yeah.
HD audio. No. It was so that was a cool thing too, and you could fit it into
that's what I'm talking. Yeah, and that was that. Yeah.
There were ones that fit in your regular cassette machines, and they were really amazing quality. And you could even have a sync. You could tell you like chapters that you could skip to. But yeah, things just got replaced fast. But they're so much better.
Be kind of rewind.
But okay, hold on. So the Time Tunnel is the show where they go to the desert, and then they drive in through the desert, and all of a sudden they go into a tunnel and they find this discrete underground military facility where there's like 50,000, 100,000 people living in this like 20-story underground base. Yeah. And it's 1962. So then they're like, oh, we better shut this place down because it's costing a lot of money and we don't see the point to it. And the guy's like, you can't shut it down. The time tunnel is the most important thing. And he like jumps out, and then it spirals like Austin Powers. Actually, Austin Powers got the time tunnel from this, jumps into the time tunnel, and then they travel through time. And the first place they go is the Titanic. He wakes up on the Titanic bridge. He's like trying to rescue people and stuff. So it's kind of like this Twilight Zone thing. And it gets pretty weird though.
But you know that Elon Musk, he just dismantled the tunnel of the one starting from LA to Las Vegas, and he took out a whole mile of. I don't know why he decided to destroy it, but he just took it down like last month. So just because it was supposed to like be connected to the Area 51 tunnels, the maglev train. So anyways,
maybe they found something. That tunnel's going to be like a private tunnel now. Dismantling tunnels.
Great aliens got in. Yeah.
Pretty weird, yeah. I don't know, man. Well,
boring company.
Yeah, they're definitely trying. They're definitely trying to do something with the tunnels. I wanted to talk about this. We could do this next time because we're 2 hours deep. But Swiss tunnels. I was looking into this a little bit last week, and it's really interesting. When you find out.
The ceremony. The Alps tunnel.
Did we talk about how many? I'm going to ask you this question because I think it's really fun. This is the second time I've asked it, but I'm sorry. How many underground bunkers do you think there are in Switzerland?
Swiss cheese. It's like Swiss
how
cheese.
many? How many there are in the United
States? Where Swiss cheese comes from? That'd be interesting.
A lot.
I'll tell you that the answer is at least enough to house by law every single citizen of Switzerland. So there have to be like, I think it's 8 million people in Switzerland. So there has to be like 300,000 bunkers that are at least disclosed. However, there are thousands more that are just like abandoned in the mountains everywhere. Mm-hmm. And there are giant bunkers in cities, which can house 20,000 people or more with giant underground tunnel systems everywhere. And they had this law.
Don't forget CERN. Don't forget CERN goes through Swiss.
Well, they're the best at making giant tunnels, right? And so, some of the most important tunnels in the world that were built from, was it Frankfurt, right? No. Howard Hughes' family made their money from drills.
What's that tunnel that they built through the Alps? Called
the Godard Tunnel.
The deepest along the
Godard Tunnel.
Gotthard.
Yeah, the Godard Tunnel.
Yeah, it's the longest underground tunnel in the world. What do you call it? But
look at that. It's actually people think it's a tunnel. It's actually the nose of a devil. That's really what that is.
The belly of the beast leads to the nose.
You've seen the drill they use though? Yeah. I'll go to the ceremony in a second, just in case. But I just want to show you guys this part here is the drill. So these guys have to sit there on their knees, kneeling, while they shoot water at this thing that's spinning through, so they can try to continually push it through and drill holes to make this giant long tunnel that's supposed to be 20 miles or whatever it was long, you know.
That's what happens if you're too boring, guys. Someone else will be boring too.
I always have to be careful when I show these pictures though, because some of these things are like not acceptable because there's like nudies and stuff like that going on here. Yeah. Oh, I think that was one.
This is again, I'm not sure if my definition of sync fits in with
Ellie's a scientist.
David's movie sync thing, but I shared one image too. I guess as parting ways, I'll explain what that is.
Oh, beautiful.
This is like a 10 level thing that can be, but if you flip this upside down, it's actually a basket for a high altitude balloon. And as it's landing, those are actually thrusters that instead of having one main thruster, you'd have a bunch.
Is this what the Wizard of Oz really was referring to?
Well, it is a keyboard and it's to the world's largest pipe organ. And that right there, what you're seeing is actually, it mimics a bunch of jade masks from pre-Columbian times. You see the kind of wide, flat nose and the mouth and the chin strap. There was the ball game that they used to play. They would have helmets and stuff. And it's also from a different perspective. It's almost like you're looking at a guy reclined in a sauna with a towel on up to his like rib cage. And those are the coals that the bench is sitting on. And then that matches to the winged Garuda and all this other stuff. But
I feel like you showed us this image the last time I talked to you.
I think the real answer is Andreas's place doesn't have to be the place where I roll this stuff out. I should eventually have my own channel where it's some short and sweet videos that are real visual.
I like the idea of the rocket ship crashing. It's a very Ancient Aliens. You know, it does kind of look like it's like a burning rocket crash. It has a very Smurfs rocket kind of vibe to it.
Well, can you rotate it 180 degrees or no? That doesn't work.
I can't. You'd have to do it.
Not in Chrome. Yeah, oh well. Such is life.
Another time. But in the meantime, Eddie, guys, make sure you go to Synchronous on Twitter and also the Facebook group. The link is on the Twitter if you want to go right there and you can join the group.
Contribute, post.
I'm kind of a little salty about Facebook right now, so but hey, look, you can get the links to everything here that's going on. And there's a lot of interesting stuff that's posted here. But also,
if I could get the two other visual minds other than yours, Andreas, as well, to give me feedback on the one
here you
logo that I have up. But for concluding, that's fine too. Yeah.
What do you guys think about this logo?
So the idea is, what do you see? It's supposed to, if I can tell you, it's for Funk and Fit. It's a fitness brand. That's the idea. But what else do you see other than?
I
see a slinky going down and upstairs.
Okay. It looks like a goat in some.
If you thought about a stick figure, if there was a stick figure doing something, what would it be doing?
Spider goat. Oh yeah, it's a guy. It's a spider guy doing like his legs are all wide and his arms are all wide. He's like Spider-Man climbing on the side of the.
I see like someone standing with their hand on their hip. And then reaching one arm back over their
You'd be looking straight down above from somebody standing straight up. And
I see flash dance. I see like when before she pulls the thing down on her, like in the glitter or whatever landed on her. You know what I'm talking about?
Maybe this doesn't work. To me, this is a really obvious visual. Eddie,
it's like she's on the chair. I can see the chair, and then she's like leaning back on it, and she's gonna pull the thing down on her.
Yeah, what's that called? The Freemason splash dance ritual. That's a dance.
There's a type of yoga now called booty yoga that if to have someone demonstrate it for you is they're doing a routine that you would usually see on the stage somewhere.
Yeah, that could be their face, it's their nose and their booty at the same time, which is kind of.
But again, so I'll try to explain it simply. And again, it's one of these things that's like, is it the old woman or the young woman? And once you see one, you can't see the other. But do you see the stick figure where those are just two legs? And like the little nub that's going sideways is his head because he's doing a back bend.
Oh, and he's like this, stretching.
Yeah,
and
it's just a
arm
hand
back.
on the hip.
I
Those
see
are the
that,
two
yeah.
arms. One's over the head, one's on the hip, and those are
It's
the
not a
two
weird
legs.
angle for that, but yeah, I can see that.
Is that so? That's it. So that
You know,
line at the very end. That's his head, and his arm goes up over it. So the head is just a kind of a yeah. So
But
yeah,
no,
I see it. I see it, but it's a chair. They're like sitting in a
Like-
chair, going back like that.
Sure,
Like
sure.
that with his arm back here. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah. By the way, buy Synctank merchandise. It's pretty sweet. If you guys,
I feel like what I would need to do is just animate it as a stick figure that ends up
Mm.
in that pose, and then it's a lot more obvious. But it's also kind of cool that the symbol is so dense, or it's so obscured in the line forms that it is, that you can see the FF, but unless you
this
I
is
don't
a
know, once I
magic
see the
sigil,
symbol,
isn't it?
yeah,
You're trying to
so-
hypnotize us.
No,
Dang it, Stefan.
it is magic sigil. You know, actually, it looks very similar to John Dee's Monos Hieroglyphica.
Mm.
If you look it up, look it up. Well,
John
Monos
Dee's what?
Hieroglyphica- John Monas. It's the symbol of the monad that his book, the hieroglyphic monad. Can you look that up?
Oh, the monad. Yeah.
Yeah, John D. Because it looks like
Oh, this guy here.
it looks like that bump. part,
Okay,
you know,
the same genre, or like it's drawing from the same palette of line forms, kind of. I
I
see
can
that.
feel that. I can
Yeah.
feel that. Yeah.
Well,
I appreciate
I'm not burning
that.
you at
Again,
I'm not burning you at the stake for it.
You're both very visual people in terms of recognizing patterns, so it's just good to know. Does it read? Does it not read? And again, thank you for having me on for the first time again, Andreas.
It's always the first time when we step into a new podcast. Synchronous though, guys, get into the synchronous.
One last thing. I want to go back to the new film that's coming out. You know Johnny Darko, right?
Donnie Darko, yeah.
So Jake Gyllenhaal, he's going to be taking the role of the Patrick Swayze. He's
Roadhouse.
He's going to be Roadhouse. So I don't know. I personally think this is very significant because you know Johnny Darko. We know it's released on January 19th, right, of 2001. Right.
There's a million things. Yeah.
So
oh man, relation with a plane crash in his bedroom, and now in this film he called Patrick Swayze the Antichrist, and now he's going to take his place.
Right.
Oh, interesting
gotcha.
point.
Yeah,
all right, well, really quickly, because like I got another podcast I got to jump into, but I want to say that I just had someone ask me about how writing advice, and I was like, you should read the screenplay that the Donnie Darko guy wrote for Holes before the Holes movie came out. That they
I almost said it earlier. Yeah, okay.
They're like, dude, no, they almost fired him immediately. They obviously they just burned it. They're like, this is not going to be the movie we make. But it's crazy post-apocalyptic. He took this thing. It's nothing to do with the book. It's this post-apocalyptic, nuclear fallout in Arizona, and they're like, they're hiding in malls, and
so that's the next level, is to make AI be able to take the scripts that were cast into the darkness and make them just by pressing a button, right?
But
and let it interpret what it's supposed to
download and read it, because you can get online. I'll get a link in the Discord. But the Holes script by Richard Kelly, written in December 17, 1999, is my favorite screenplay of all time. Even better than Chinatown. It's such a tragedy it wasn't made. So we got to remake this movie.
So why is nobody making it? I mean,
because it was about Holes, which is not about. It's like, so they made the movie Holes instead. Like Holes is about a book. Holes, Louis Zacher wrote this book. What's it called? Here, Holes. Holes in the Desert. It's a great book, but it has nothing to do with that.
Patricia Arquette.
Is this why you keep talking about holes in Switzerland?
Oh, interesting.
And Paradolia.
Think about it.
Hey, Andreas, are you supposed to be like on that show like currently? Because I wanted to do a quick plug, but I can't do that, huh?
No, do it, of course.
Okay.
Time,
and where are you headed to? Andreas?
Yeah, so
right back
so here, if you go to my page.
Yeah. Oh, to the MK Ultra.
No, to where you were, but I mean my page on there.
Oh, jolly good. Yes, indeed. Syncflix.
Yeah. So if you go down here and see where it says art by David Plate on the above paragraph, see where it's like bolded. Oh, see. So like, sorry, Cassandra, and above that it says art. See that?
Yeah.
Okay, click on it.
This right here?
On the art, not sorry, Cassandra. Yeah.
So
I just got this. I got this better together at my work. So like, if you click on the image.
Play loud.
Any of these images, if you click on them.
It's not letting me click.
Click on what's the title for it.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
It takes a while to load. Wow. So you
Yeah.
get full printed.
Yeah, so if you go to any one of those images that are on that page, then they're available in G-Clay because I work in a print shop. So yeah. Anyway,
man.
I just want to put that out there
David-
because I'm like, I just put it together.
David
For
makes
large-scale printing, it'd be
David
interesting to
makes
talk
these
about that,
really
because I had
crazy,
this image
amazing.
Take it off the computer screen. Yeah.
David makes these really crazy, intricate things that take just like forever to make, and they're just incredible. And they're intricate collages of just like thousands of important things. I'm afraid I'm probably not supposed to even show some of the things that are in them, but they're just they're so detailed and they're Hieronymus Bosch Photoshop collage. It's amazing. So usually,
and knowing that David probably didn't just take a shortcut and tell an AI to do it, because half the stuff you'll see out there now that looks like this, who knows?
no, it's all by
I
hand.
believe David when he says he stitched this together. And
This is all by hand. I've seen him do this over the last decade,
right.
and I know people that when I go to their houses, and I see like a David Plate piece, I'm always just very impressed. So if you're able to get a David Plate piece, you ought to do it. This is you're in a lucky situation. And so this is from your, what is this on? Is this paper or?
Yeah, this is on enhanced matte.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's very nice paper and it's very nice printing because G Clay is higher definition style printing. So the paint lands differently. It's very precise.
Andreas, you should try to get Hunter Biden on as a guest, and we'll do a whole art series where we like get all the artists that you have on and get their like most polished pieces and get them upscaled to the high end art market, right?
I love this one.
He's the most famous person I've heard.
This one's actually an album cover for what is it? King Black Acid, I think it's called.
I have
the album's called Super Beautiful Magic.
I think the one I have is this one. I'm not sure. I have to check because it's in Santa Cruz.
Well, if you do album cover,
Andreas, your other girlfriends are getting jealous on the other. Well, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's true.
Who's waiting though?
So it's going to be Crypto Alchemist Bernie with Homunculus, and then Sabri Tuzine, a Brahmin Tamil friend of mine, whose parents were the casting directors for Grandma's Boy. Fun fact. So I'll see you guys soon. Thank you very much. Is there anything else that we wanted to make sure we covered? Stefan, do you have a link? What was it?
Not yet. No, I mean, other than to your Discord.
Guys, look at his beautiful face. Give him an air hug. You see him in the Discord. It'll be good. I appreciate that you guys were here. We'll do it next week. Take care. Peace.